Chapter 1120. Along with this voice, more than a dozen terrifying figures rushed up from below and went after the remaining 8 experts of the Blood Union. They were the experts at the 3rd level of the Law Manifestation Realm who healed Zhengbai in the City Lord's Mansion. They were also the top human experts in the Blood World apart from Zhengbai. Although Zhengbai only fought for less than half an hour for them, the recovery ability of the experts at the 3rd level of the Law Manifestation Realm was extremely powerful. Unless they were seriously injured like Zhengbai, such a long time was enough for them to fully recover. Seeing these figures, Zhengbai's eyes began to blur. A trace of a gratified smile flashed across the corner of his mouth. His figure directly fell from the sky. He could not even maintain his figure in midair. Poof! A figure flew up and caught Zhengbai. Yishuin took a closer look. It was a woman in her 20s. She was wearing purple tights. Her body was curvaceous and unusually hot. On her delicate face, there was a small dark red mole on the side of her lips which added a bit of charm. She raised her eyebrows and shouted, "Don't hold back. Kill these bastards for me." The elites from Blood Alliance who had fought against Zhengbai before were instantly forced to retreat under the ambush of these elites. In fact, some of them had to face more than 2 elites at the same time, and they were swiftly defeated. They were not their opponents at all. Seeing these people appear, Yishuin immediately let out a sigh of relief. No matter what, this wave of crisis seemed to be finally over. At this time, the chi in his body had also recovered about 70% to 80%. His combat power did not recover to the peak, but it was almost there. With the Phoenix regeneration technique to protect his body, his recovery ability was far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. At this time, the woman in purple looked at Yi Shiwen and asked, "What's your name?" "Yi Shiwen," Yi Shiwen said and cupped his hands. "I won't say anything else. This time, it's all thanks to your help. Bai Yi and I both owe you a favor. In the future, this eastern city will be your home. If anyone dares to covet your things, they will be going against our Eastern Sea region and seeking their own deaths." When the purple-robed woman said this, she imbued her voice with quintessential essence. Immediately, her voice spread throughout the entire city. The threat in her words was very heavy. Those who originally had designs on Yi Shiwen's emergence immortal exterminating saber suddenly felt their necks shrink, and they felt depressed. The original covetous thoughts in their hearts suddenly vanished. They could ignore Yi Shiwen's threat. For the sake of the emergence immortal exterminating saber, they could disregard anything. However, they could not ignore the threat of the Eastern Sea region. As one of the 4 super behemoths in the Endless Sea region, it was a behemoth whether it was inside or outside the Blood World. Even if it wanted to destroy a large sea region, it would not be a problem at all. The only ones who would dare to fight against the Eastern Sea region were the remaining few Super Sea regions or people like Blood Alliance. They were a bunch of lunatics who thought that they could only hide in the Blood World and had already gone mad. Yi Shiwen cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for helping me out." How could he not hear that this purple-robed woman had helped him out of a huge trouble? With the halo of the Eastern Sea region above his head, there were obviously not many people who had the guts to plot against his emergence immortal exterminating saber. Obviously, when they were healing, they did not give up on paying attention to the battle situation here. Otherwise, they would not say such words. Although she seemed to have a fiery temper, she was a meticulous woman. "It's nothing. It's just a small effort. Compared to your kindness of saving Bai Yi, this is nothing at all," said the purple-robed woman as she shook her head. Then, she said to an Eastern Sea region expert next to her, "I'll leave Bai Yi to you first. I want to tear these bugs apart with my own hands." At this time, more and more experts from the City Lord's Mansion arrived in midair. All of them were law manifestation experts. After the purple-robed woman handed Zhengbai to a man, she directly turned into a purple stream of light and rushed into the battle. The man hurriedly brought Zhengbai back to the City Lord's Mansion. He should be going to treat him. "Bastard, how dare you beat Bai Yi up like this? I can't even bear to touch a finger of him. Who do you think you are?" The purple-robed woman roared, and the veins on her face protruded. She was abnormally angry. The purple long whip in her hand was like a purple dragon that broke through the sky and lashed down towards a blood union expert. Pa! There was a loud sound of the long whip falling. Although it looked like a soft long whip, the blood union expert was like a meteor. He was whipped down and fell directly into the city. He directly crashed into many houses and smashed a large pit on the ground. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. However, looking at how he was gasping for air, it was obvious that he was dying. When the cultivators in the city saw this scene, they immediately had the urge to swallow their saliva. What kind of joke was this? This had to be fake, right? With one whip, he flung a third heaven transcendence realm expert to the ground. Although he had expended a lot of energy, this was too ferocious. Who is this woman? She's so valiant. Someone who didn't know what was going on asked. You must be an outsider. Otherwise, how can you not know Changzi? In our Eastern Sea region, this is also a legendary name. No one knows her roots and origin. She suddenly appeared in the Eastern Sea region once and was invincible among the younger generation with a long whip. Later, she was defeated by Zheng Bai's hands. Then, no one knows why she fell in love with Zheng Bai. She changed her name to Changzi, saying that it was to match Zheng Bai's name. We don't even know her real name. However, she is deeply in love with Zheng Bai. It hasn't changed for so many years. She has always been by Zheng Bai's side and has never left. In that case, this Changzi is the second strongest expert in your Eastern Sea region. She's so powerful. Someone said in amazement. One should know what kind of place the Eastern Sea region was. It was the holy land of humans in the entire Endless Sea region. It was the pinnacle of martial arts. It could be said that there were countless experts there. There were even many experts who had surpassed the law manifestation realm. If one didn't surpass the law manifestation realm, it would be impossible to establish a foothold there. To be able to make a name for herself as the second strongest expert in that place. Changzi's strength was also ridiculously strong. Even if she was not as good as Zheng Bai, the difference was very small. More or less. Although I don't know if there are any hidden experts, almost all of these experts who are on the surface have been defeated by Changzi. Yi Shiwen, Yi Qianqian, and Jian Wushuang had just landed from midair when they heard the discussion about Changzi. The second strongest expert among the younger generation in the Eastern Sea region, she was really amazing. If one looked at it this way, then it wasn't strange. Although there were many experts in the Blood Alliance, how could they be compared with the elites from a place like the Eastern Sea region? Most of the members of the Blood Alliance were warriors who accidentally stayed in the Blood World. Among these people, most of them could only rank at the bottom in the Blood World trial. What they relied on was that they had many more years of cultivation compared to these experts. Although there were some top experts who accidentally stayed in the Blood World and became members of the Blood Alliance, they were the minority after all. Therefore, overall, the experts from the Eastern Sea region were a notch higher. Compared to a top-notch expert like Changzi, these people were even more stretched. With Changzi joining the fray, the battle quickly became one-sided. Even though the people from Blood Alliance still wanted to fight back, there was no way they could be Changzi's opponent, especially since Zheng Bai was heavily injured and might die at any moment. This caused Changzi to practically descend into a berserk state. Every single time she lashed out, a Blood Alliance elite would be caught off guard, and they would explode or be sent flying. Compared to the enraged Changzi, the other elites seemed to have become much dimmer. However, at this time, no one cared so much because they were also filled with anger. At this time, those who were willing to spend time and effort to heal Zheng Bai were the top experts of the human clan who had a good relationship with Zheng Bai. Seeing that their good friend was seriously injured, they were already burning with anger. How could they care about this? The situation in the sky was simply one-sided. Therefore, Yi Shiwen didn't want to participate in the battle. Yi Shiwen could feel that there were a lot of greedy eyes hidden in the crowd, but they didn't dare to look directly at Yi Shiwen. When Yi Shiwen's eyes swept over them, they would be startled and then quickly avert their eyes. Everyone go up now. Activate all the defenses and kill all the blood fiends outside the city. Everything on their bodies will belong to you. Our Oriental city won't take a single cent. An expert of the Oriental city stood up and said at this time. Everyone thought that this was true. There were many blood fiends outside. Not to mention, the blood nuclei of these blood fiends could be sold for a lot of money. Moreover, every part of these blood fiends' bodies was very valuable. Everyone shouted and rushed towards the blood fiends as they thought of this. The situation was exactly the same as before. However, the difference was that they had no choice but to fight desperately to save their lives. But now, they wanted to make a fortune. The opportunity to make a fortune was right in front of them. So, how could they let go of such a good opportunity at this time? So, they rushed forward one after another. The experts of the Oriental City were holding the line. Moreover, the matrix of the Oriental City's barrier had been activated. Therefore, the pressure on them had suddenly decreased. The blood fiends had been thrown into confusion under the attack of the Oriental City's matrix. So, they were powerless to resist the army of human experts. Yi Shiwen and the others didn't hesitate and rushed forward. Chapter 1121. In the bustling market of Oriental City, people were coming and going. Countless warriors were shuttling back and forth, looking for the treasures they wanted. 10 days had passed since the Blood Union's attack. The entire Oriental City had begun to regain its liveliness. However, this was only the first wave of the Blood Union's attack. More and more human cities and experts were attacked by the Blood Union. Aside from Oriental City, there was even a large sea area that was attacked by the Blood Union. Under the summons of Oriental City, all the experts who were willing to come all went to Oriental City. Oriental City also began to become unprecedentedly lively. However, everyone knew that this was only temporary, because soon they would have to leave. As the Blood Union attacked human warriors more and more, finally, some people began to be unable to take it anymore and began to choose to leave. They were originally going to leave, but now they were forced to leave by the Blood Union. Although they were somewhat unwilling, they had no other choice. After all, there was a Blood Union in the blood world that specifically targeted human experts. Although Changzi personally led a team and cleaned up a few of the Blood Union's bases, the strength that the Blood Union had accumulated for so many years was far beyond everyone's imagination. Even if they were to fight against the joint forces of the human race and the sea folk, they would not be at a complete disadvantage, let alone against the human race. Under the situation of the sea folk silence, the human race basically retreated when facing the Blood Union. Although the human race had the absolute advantage in numbers, it was useless because in terms of top experts, they were completely at a disadvantage. Moreover, they were in the light while the Blood Union was in the dark. The situation was suddenly reversed. Changzi led a team to attack the Blood Union's bases, but they could not keep up with the speed of the Blood Union robbing human experts. This accelerated the panic of many human experts. However, in their cities, it was very likely that they would be attacked by the Blood Union. Now, as the Blood Union's experts became more and more rampant, they could not even give up their cities. After slaughtering a few cities, they obtained a lot of Blood Yuan pills and refined those people into Blood Yuan pills. A city could easily have tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people. One could imagine how many Blood Yuan pills there were. Due to the replenishment of a large number of Blood Yuan pills, the strength of the experts of the Blood Union also increased very quickly. Even the frequency of experts at the third level of the Transcendence realm was increasing. More and more experts advanced to the third level of the Transcendence realm. Now, other than Oriental City, which they still didn't dare to enter, there were even experts appearing near the large sea. One could imagine how arrogant these people were. This time, each sea region might have only sent 100 or 200 experts. However, with so many sea regions accumulating over 10 million experts, all of them had started to gather in Dongfang City. One could imagine how lively Dongfang City was right now. Fortunately, Dongfang City had undergone countless years of expansion and was now extremely huge. Otherwise, it would not have been able to accommodate over 10 million experts. Because so many experts had gathered in Dongfang City, the city's market had become unprecedentedly lively. Countless experts were exchanging the heavenly materials and earthly treasures that they had obtained in the outside world or in the blood world. Everyone knew that they would leave the blood world in less than 20 days. No one knew when they would have the chance to exchange heavenly materials and earthly treasures with experts from the Endless Sea region. Yi Shiwen was sitting cross-legged in a room of an inn that was very close to the bazaar. He had already put up a sign saying that he wanted to purchase elemental returning immortal grass. Now that all the experts of the human race in the entire Endless Sea region had gathered here, the chances of obtaining the elemental returning immortal grass were much higher than when he had written down his initial estimate. But even so, Yi Shiwen had been hanging the signboard for 10 days, but there was still no news. He couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. Now, he truly experienced the feeling of suffocation. Usually, there were many things that he didn't care about, but when he was about to use them and died, he found out that he didn't have them at all. That kind of suffocating feeling was like that. Especially now that the 9 Orifices Divine Pill was only missing one main ingredient. It was even more so. However, no matter how anxious he was, it was useless. Now, Yi Shiwen had to look at the 9 Orifices Divine Pill. He had just entered the half-step law phase intermediate realm, and it would take time for him to accumulate. If he did not have the 9 Orifices Divine Pill, it would be impossible for him to enter the half-step law phase advanced realm in a short period of time, let alone enter the law phase realm. Although this trip to the blood world had not been completed, even so, Yi Shiwen had obtained a lot of benefits. When he had first entered the blood world, he had at most killed experts at the half-step law phase initial realm. Now, even experts at the second heaven of the law phase realm were no match for him. His strength had soared so much that even he did not expect it before he entered. Yimo, I am considering whether to leave the blood world after 20 days. Yi Shiwen said. He had been thinking about this for a long time. He was somewhat unwilling to leave the blood world at this time. I'm really unwilling to leave now. The unique blood chi in the blood world can quickly improve my cultivation. If I continue to stay here for a year and a half, even without the 9 Orifices Divine Pill, I can rely on my own strength to enter the law manifestation realm. At that time, no matter how big the blood world is, I can do whatever I want, Yi Shiwen said. As for the threat of the blood union, it might be a big problem for the ordinary experts in the blood union, but it was not a problem for him at all. As long as he was careful, he did not have to worry about being surrounded by the blood union. Even if he was surrounded, he could escape unscathed as long as the opponent's strength was not too high. He had demon wings, which could make his speed soar to the extreme in an instant. With the opening of the blood world's exit, he could return to the Flourished Cloud Sea region at any time. As the saying goes, he could attack or retreat at will. He did not have to worry about anything at all. Before entering the blood world, these people received a token. With this token, Heaven's Gate could easily find the coordinates of the Flourished Cloud Sea region without being teleported to some unknown sea region by the space-time turbulence. I also think it's a pity for you to leave like this. If you are bringing a group of people, I don't recommend you to stay. However, if you are alone, you can wander for another year and a half. Anyway, you just need to leave before the 3-year period is up, said Yimo. Moreover, I keep feeling that the Oceanic tribe's silence this time is a little abnormal. Although the Blood Alliance's target is the humans, they should understand what will happen once the Blood Alliance grows. Will the Blood Alliance's members be satisfied with just killing human experts? That's definitely impossible. Those elites from Blood Alliance will definitely do anything for the sake of survival and to reach even higher realms of cultivation. There's no reason for the sea folk to not know about this. That's why there might be something that even we don't know about. Yi Shiwen nodded. Now that the people outside were in a panic, there were not many people who would think about this matter, but he was different. For him, these things did not matter at all. For him, the blood union's encirclement and suppression was something that he could leave at any time. It did not matter at all. Therefore, he calmed down and planned these things. Moreover, the Mingxin ancient tree allowed him to be in the calmest state at any time. He would not miss the slightest problem. Hearing Yimo also said so, Yi Shiwen immediately calmed down and said, In that case, I have to give it a try. Leaving unwillingly is not my style. At this moment, there was a knock on the door outside Yi Shiwen's door. Who is it? Asked Yi Shiwen. It's me. The elemental recovery celestial grass that you want has been picked up. At this moment, a message from Jian Wushuang came from outside. Yi Shiwen's spirit was instantly lifted. He had been waiting for someone to see the elemental recovery celestial grass. Now that it had finally happened, his mood instantly improved. That's great, wait for me. Yi Shiwen immediately jumped up from his bed and directly pushed the door open. When Yi Shiwen rushed to the market, Yi Qianqian and the others were already waiting there, just in case someone intercepted him. Although Yi Shiwen did not say it, they all knew from Yi Shiwen's tone that the elemental recovery celestial grass was probably very important to Yi Shiwen. Now, Yi Shiwen was the core of their team. Unconsciously, everyone faintly regarded him as the team leader. In front of them, there was a middle-aged man with a face full of beard waiting. Are you the one who has the elemental recovery celestial grass? Yi Shiwen immediately rushed forward and asked. The middle-aged man nodded and said, that's right. Are you the one who wants the elemental recovery celestial grass? He glanced at Yi Shiwen, who seemed to be a little anxious. His eyeballs rolled, and suddenly he had some ideas. If you want the elemental recovery celestial grass this time, I must exchange it with bloodstones. 1,000,000 bloodstones. He smiled slightly slyly. He had calculated that Yi Shiwen was in need of 1,000,000 bloodstones now. If he did not ask for an exorbitant price now and extort a sum of money, when would he ever get it? 1,000,000? You might as well go rob someone. Miao Cece immediately said. Although the elemental immortal grass was rare, it wasn't very precious. Under normal circumstances, if one were to calculate the value of the bloodstones, it would be considered pretty good if one could sell it for 100,000. Yet, Miao Cece asked for 1,000,000 in one go. Wasn't this clearly extortion? Forget it, 1,000,000 it is, Yi Shiwen said. He did not have that much time to waste on this person. Chapter 11:22. Yi Shiwen was concerned about the 9 orifices divine elixir now. Whether it was 100,000 or 1,000,000, it made no difference to his current wealth. It was just a drop in the ocean. As long as the 9 orifices divine elixir was successfully refined, his strength would immediately increase by leaps and bounds. He would no longer need to rely on the emergence, immortal exterminating saber to severely injure the experts at the third heaven of the Transcendence realm. What? You're not satisfied? The middle-aged man glanced at Miao Cece and said with a cold smile, I'm not selling it now. If you want the elemental immortal grass back, take out 10,000,000 bloodstones. Then, he glanced at Yi Shiwen again. When he saw Yi Shiwen's straightforward look just now, he knew that 1,000,000 bloodstones was just a drizzle to him. The restless thoughts in his heart suddenly became active again. Originally, he felt complacent when he reported the amount. Now, it seemed that he had suffered a great loss for not asking for more. What? Do you want to die? 10,000,000. Miao Cece shouted and exclaimed. If 1,000,000 bloodstones could only be regarded as an exorbitant demand, then 10,000,000 bloodstones was really robbery. Suddenly, Yi Qianqian and the others also looked at the bearded man. Suddenly, a strong killing intent erupted from their bodies. The bearded man was just an ordinary warrior at the first heaven of the Transcendence realm. How could he withstand the pressure of so many experts? He was immediately frightened. What do you want? This is the Oriental City's market. If you dare to make a move here, then you're dead meat. The bearded man hastily replied. He suddenly felt more confident as he said this. He straightened his back and looked at Miao Cece and the others with a complacent expression on his face. This place was the official market of the Oriental City. Causing trouble here would be akin to slapping the Oriental City's face in front of everyone. Once such a thing happened, it would be strange if the Oriental City did not intervene. Thinking of this, he immediately calmed down. Anyway, the elemental returning immortal grass was in his hands. What else could they do? At this time, Gao Xian and the others were a little hesitant. The deterrence of the Eastern Sea region was naturally great for them. How many people had the guts to break the rules they set? Wouldn't he be tired of living? Originally, I didn't want to haggle with you about that 1,000,000 bloodstones. Although you quoted 10 times more, but I didn't want to waste my breath with you because I was in a hurry. However, You were actually greedy and wanted to ask for 10 million bloodstones. I think you have been blinded by greed and have become stupid. Yi Shiwen slowly said, I don't care. If you don't take out 10 million yuan, don't even think about taking the elemental immortal herb back from me. His complexion suddenly turned somewhat red. Many people in the surroundings looked at him. In his eyes, there was a ridiculing look in their eyes. However, he didn't have a way out now. He didn't believe that Yi Shiwen would fall out with him in this market. How reckless! A cold look flashed in Yi Shiwen's eyes. 10 million bloodstones might not be too much for him. He could still afford it. However, he couldn't tolerate others treating him like a sucker. Moreover, he couldn't tolerate the stupidest sucker who would go back on his words and raise the price in front of him. Slap! A loud slap was heard. The bearded middle-aged man was sent flying by the slap. His body directly hit several stalls and directly crashed to the ground. Yi Shiwen had controlled his strength. However, how could the strength of the tyrant body be taken lightly? His head had almost been smashed by Yi Shiwen. Half of his face was completely swollen, and his teeth were all broken. You actually dare to hit me? Do you know where you are? The bearded man, who had been full of confidence, said in disbelief. Then he looked up and shouted, Someone is beating people up. Someone is forcing people to buy and sell things in the market. If only a small group of people had noticed this place before, then the majority of people were now looking in the direction of Yi Shiwen and the others. They were even more curious. Someone was actually trying to force people to buy and sell things in the Oriental City. Wasn't that courting death? Who is this person? Is he courting death? Doesn't he know the rules of the Oriental City? Humph, this person must be stupid. He actually dares to stroke the tiger's whiskers. Isn't this courting death? This person isn't right. He looks a little familiar. I think I've seen him somewhere before. Oh, I remember. Isn't this the mysterious swordsman from the other day? Some people recognized Yi Shiwen. His performance in midair that day was too dazzling. Although he only brandished his blade 3 times, it was already very terrifying for them. Although the number of slashes was not many, each slash could either severely injure a master at the 3rd level of the law manifestation realm or completely kill him. This efficiency could be said to be ferocious. It was just that they didn't know Yi Shiwen's identity. Now, they only gave him the title of Mysterious Swordsman. However, there were still some people who recognized Yi Shiwen and immediately stayed. It was a good show to watch. This mysterious swordsman is extremely tyrannical, but the dignity of the Oriental City is also inviolable. This is going to be interesting. At this moment, a few cold shouts came from the sky. Who dares to cause trouble in my Oriental City? Then, a group of people flew over from a distance and arrived. This was the law enforcement team of the Oriental City. When the middle-aged man with sideburns shouted, all of them actually came over. At this moment, the middle-aged man with sideburns shouted, It's them. It's them. They actually want to force a sale here. They want to snatch my element-returning immortal grass. Quick, catch them. Nonsense. It's clear that you want to raise the price. You actually want to sell something worth 100,000 bloodstones for 10 million. Isn't this robbing a burning house? Miao Cici quickly said with her hands on her hips. The way everyone looked at the middle-aged man with sideburns suddenly changed. They originally thought that this mysterious swordsman wanted to force a sale. However, it turned out that this was not the case. An item worth 100,000 bloodstones actually wanted to sell for 10 million. This person was too black-hearted. The middle-aged man with sideburns also felt embarrassed at this moment. However, he still relied on the support of the law enforcement team and said, That is also my item. I can sell it for however much I want. What can you do about it? Buy it or leave it. At this time, the captain of the law enforcement team suddenly slapped the middle-aged man with sideburns. The other half of his face immediately swelled up. You? The middle-aged man with sideburns looked at the captain of the law enforcement team in disbelief. He hadn't expected that the captain of the law enforcement team would actually help Yi Shiwen and the others to hit him. Although he was a bit black-hearted, there was no way out. There was no reason for the captain of the law enforcement team to help Yi Shiwen and the others and not help himself. I hate profiteers the most in my life. Hurry up and take out that element returning immortal grass and get lost. Otherwise, I will kill you." The captain of the law enforcement team fiercely glared at the middle-aged man with sideburns. The middle-aged man with sideburns was still dumbfounded. He couldn't believe that things had developed to this point. He had really lifted a rock and smashed it on his own feet. Now, forget about the 10 million bloodstones. He was afraid that he would have to give away the element returning immortal grass in vain. However, what could he do at this time? Meow Cece and the others were glaring at him like a tiger watching its prey. The members of the law enforcement team had no intention of standing on his side. At this time, he could only bitterly take out the element returning immortal grass. Then, he turned around and quickly disappeared into the crowd. It was a big loss. It was really a big loss this time. "Young Master Yi, this is your element returning immortal grass." The captain of the law enforcement team respectfully handed the element returning immortal grass to Yi Shiwen's hand with a respectful look. "You know me?" Yi Shiwen looked at the captain of the law enforcement team in a somewhat strange manner. The captain had been very strange from the beginning. Although this guy was indeed a bit black-hearted, he didn't suffer any losses in terms of the law. "I know young Master Yi, but perhaps young Master Yi doesn't know me." Previously, our Oriental city was saved thanks to young Master Ye's help, the captain of the law enforcement team said. Yi Shiwen understood. No wonder the captain of the law enforcement team was siding with him. "So that's how it is. Actually, I didn't help much. It was all thanks to City Lord Zheng," Yi Shiwen said. This was not a polite remark. It was the truth. If Zheng Bai hadn't blocked most of the attacks, it would have been impossible for Yi Shiwen to be a match for these experts at the third level of the law manifestation realm. At most, he would have been able to retreat unscathed. It was Zheng Bai who persisted until the other experts recovered. Only then did he manage to stop all the experts at the third level of the law manifestation realm from the Blood Union. Except for a portion of the blood fiends outside the city, most of them became the spoils of war for the experts in the city. Without anyone to command them, they were utterly defeated under the attacks of the Oriental city's barrier formation. Soon, they became the spoils of war for everyone. On that day, everyone really made a fortune. That battle also made Yi Shiwen famous. Although he wasn't as dazzling as Zheng Bai, Chang Zi, and the others, he was able to kill experts at the third level of the law manifestation realm with his strength at the intermediate level of the law manifestation realm. At that time, it still shocked everyone. It made many people remember this mysterious swordsman. In any case, there were so many people at that time. Only young Master Yi and a few others rushed forward. Our Oriental city is very grateful. If young Master Yi hadn't killed 2 people, perhaps our city lord wouldn't have been able to hold on, said the captain of the law enforcement team. Indeed, Zheng Bai's situation at that time could be said to be a lamp that had run out of oil. If 2 more people had gone in, perhaps he wouldn't have been able to hold on. Although they didn't know his specific situation now, it was obvious that he didn't die. "It's nothing. In any case, I still have to thank the captain for your help today." Yi Shiwen took the elemental returning immortal grass and said while cupping his hands, "I have urgent matters to attend to. I'll leave first, then we won't stop young Master Yi." Chapter 11:23. In the room of the inn, Yi Shiwen sat cross-legged on the futon. Golden rays of light splashed all over his body. In his body, the mysterious space burst into an unimaginable colorful light. It was constantly deducing the elixir recipe of 9 orifices divine elixir. This elixir recipe could be said to be the most difficult elixir recipe that Yi Shiwen had ever practiced. It was not only a flawless grade, but it had also entered the quality of earth level. It was completely different from the human level. A large number of bloodstones and spirit crystals were burned at the same time, instilling into Yi Shiwen's mysterious space. A large amount of information was deduced and branded into the depths of Yi Shiwen's soul. Above Yi Shiwen, a blood-colored mirror floated in the sky. It was boiling, and the blood-colored light almost filled the entire room. The movement when he was refining elixir was too big, especially the flawless grade elixir. It was a very problematic decision to refine elixir in this crowded place, but Yi Shiwen couldn't wait anymore. Not to mention, there were unparalleled sword, Yi Qianqian, and others to protect him, so he decided to refine elixir in the inn. But even so, he had to be fully prepared and shield all the aura. Yi Shiwen was not in a hurry to start alchemy, but first began to refine tools. In front of him, a mass of unknown mineral material was being melted into a mass of liquid, and underneath it was a blazing flame that was constantly roasting and refining those impurities. Gradually, a cauldron-shaped instrument appeared in front of Yi Shiwen. It turned out to be a human-level alchemy furnace. With his current strength, as long as there were enough materials, it was a piece of cake to refine a human-level instrument. If he wanted to refine elixir, he needed an alchemy furnace. The previous alchemy furnace was just a great sage tool. It was barely enough to refine ordinary elixir. Even when refining flawless grade elixir, the effect could only be regarded as average. However, under Yi Shiwen's precise technique, there was no problem yet. But to refine this kind of earth-rank medicinal pill, the best was naturally to have an earth-rank or above alchemy furnace, but a human-rank alchemy furnace could barely be used, so it was not a big deal. Yi Shiwen didn't have any alchemy inheritance, so it was impossible to have an alchemy furnace for him to use, so he could only continue to refine higher-level alchemy furnaces. Moreover, he was still a dabbler, so this kind of temporary sacrificial refining of alchemy furnace wasn't something that happened once or twice, but he didn't care about it. If a worker wanted to do a good job, he must first sharpen his tools. It took him a full day to refine a top-level, human-level alchemy furnace, and it gradually took shape and appeared in the air. Boom! Yi Shiwen heaved a sigh of relief and instantly mobilized the Zhen Yuan throughout his body. He pinched his hand and stimulated his Zhen Yuan. Suddenly, a flame rose up from the alchemy furnace. It was a pure alchemy fire. Then he poured the medicinal herbs into the furnace. Familiar and unfamiliar medicinal herbs were thrown into the alchemy furnace by Yi Shiwen, and he carefully controlled the fire and threw them in order. Yi Shiwen looked focused, his eyes fixed on the alchemy furnace, and in his pair of dark eyes, endless alchemy fire was boiling and jumping. He carefully controlled the temperature of the flame, but although he was careful, he was not nervous, because all kinds of information about the 9 orifices divine pill had been deduced thousands of times, and all kinds of tricks had been deduced. In his mind, Yi Shiwen had even simulated it dozens of times. From the beginning, most of the failures, but later on, more and more information was deduced, and he succeeded in all of them. Because there was only one set of materials, so he didn't dare to deduce carelessly. He first deduced countless times before he dared to really try it. So now, although Yi Shiwen was only refining for the first time, it could be said to be at his fingertips. His skill was also many times stronger than before, so refining was not difficult. Although the alchemy fire under Yi Shiwen's control was very strong, and in order to refine in a short time, he increased the alchemy fire, but it was still firmly controlled by Yi Shiwen. In less than an hour, the alchemy furnace issued a humming sound, and the medicinal fragrance instantly filled the entire room of the inn. Yi Shiwen waved his hand, and the lid of the alchemy furnace directly flew up, and a golden pill appeared in front of him. The medicinal fragrance overflowed in all directions, and it was also suffused with a pale, golden luster, and there was a faint trace of Tao flashing inside it. Yi Shiwen breathed a sigh of relief. Although he was very calm just now, it was impossible to say that he was not nervous. After all, there was only one set of materials. If he failed, God knows when he could refine the 9 orifices divine pill again. Originally, he could wait until he went out to buy materials to refine, but since he decided to stay first, he suddenly felt a sense of pressure. He must improve his strength as soon as possible to deal with the situation that he might face in the Blood Realm later. The golden pellet suddenly flew out. It actually wanted to escape. It actually had a spiritual nature. However, Yi Shiwen was already prepared. He immediately stretched out a big hand and directly grabbed the pellet. He stuffed it directly into his mouth and began to refine the efficacy of the pellet. This 9 orifices divine pill just entered Yi Shiwen's stomach. Yi Shiwen immediately felt a powerful medicinal efficacy began to boil in his body. Yes, it was not the same situation as in the past. This powerful medicinal efficacy was simply like boiling water in his body, and it actually seeped out through his pores. Even his body could not contain this medicinal efficacy. At this time, Yi Shiwen finally remembered what Yi Emo said. In other words, although this 9 orifices divine pill was powerful, in fact, not everyone could use it because its medicinal efficacy was too overbearing. Most people were afraid that once they swallowed it, they would completely explode and die. Only a physique like the tyrant body could forcefully suppress it. Also, if the medicinal efficacy was not fierce enough, how could it help Yi Shiwen enter the transcendence realm in a short period of time? Immediately, he didn't think of anything else and immediately began to circulate the observing person scripture. He immediately sealed all the pores on his body and forced the medicinal power into his body. Then, he circulated the observing person scripture to convert the medicinal power bit by bit into his own power. Yi Shiwen's martial power also began to soar like a rocket. Although the speed was not too obvious, but compared to the previous speed, it was still much faster. And time was also passing bit by bit in Yi Shiwen's closed-door training. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days had passed, and the entire Oriental city became more and more lively. Not only in the entire Oriental city, but also outside the city, there were many masters living. Now, almost all the masters of the human clan in the blood world had rushed here, wanting to pass through here and return to their respective seas. Because of the aggressiveness of the blood union, they had already been forced to retreat. Although if both sides continued to fight, then the blood union might not be a match for the human clan. After all, the human clan had the advantage in numbers. Tens of millions of people were enough to crush any force, but no one was willing to fight with the blood union in this way. Even if they won, they would suffer heavy losses, and the warriors at the bottom would be sacrificed like cannon fodder. It was not that the higher-ups wanted to sacrifice them, but there was no other way. The lower the strength, the easier it was to be killed. In this case, no one was willing to stay and make the wedding dress for others. Of course, there were also some brave and skillful people who didn't intend to leave at all. They didn't want to stay. Anyway, they were scattered and disbanded. It wouldn't be easy for those people from the blood union to catch them. It was just like how it wasn't easy for many human experts to find those people from the blood union. Since more than a dozen bases were overturned one after another, the blood union people became more careful and more low-key. It was more difficult to find them. In the inn where Yi Shiwen was in closed-door training, by Hamo and others leaned on the table in boredom. Yes, many masters of the Flourished Cloud Sea region had also rushed to the Oriental city. Although the Flourished Cloud Sea region was remote, it was still targeted by the blood union masters. In the end, everyone had to give up and came to the Oriental city to meet with Jian Wushuang and the others. Although they had been separated from Jian Wushuang for a long time, they had their own means of communication. As soon as they arrived at the Oriental city, they contacted Jian Wushuang. In this more than a month, the strength of Miao Sisi and others had made great progress. With the help of the Bloodstone, their speed of progress could be described as flying. Miao Sisi and the other two had all entered the peak of the first heaven of the Law Manifestation Realm, and Jian Wushuang had entered the second heaven of the Law Manifestation Realm in one fell swoop. Yi Qianqian, who had always maintained a high speed, had entered the peak of the third heaven of the Law Manifestation Realm. Even Jian Wushuang was a little shocked by such speed. It showed how deep Yi Qianqian's accumulation over the years was. Once she erupted, her strength improved so fast. Among the group of people from the Flourished Cloud Sea region, the strongest was no longer the original strongest master, young Master Sea Dragon, but Bai Hanmo. Bai Hanmo, who was originally lagging behind the others, had entered the second heaven of the Law Manifestation Realm, catching up with Jian Wushuang. Following closely behind was young Master Sea Dragon, who was at the peak of the Law Manifestation Realm. Pei Xingqian, Jing Wuhui, Yao Qian, Princess, Hai Wuyo, and Boundless Sea had also entered the first heaven of the Law Manifestation Realm. In addition to them, everyone from the Flourished Cloud Sea region had entered the half-step Law Manifestation Realm. Many had even entered the half-step law manifestation realm late stage. With the Flourish Cloud City as a treasure bowl, everyone's progress was amazing. After cultivating the half-step law manifestation realm experts in their respective forces, they all went out to travel. If it weren't for the Blood Alliance pressing them so hard this time, they would probably return to Flourish Cloud City more than a year later and prepare to return to the Flourish Cloud Sea region. Chapter 1124. Now, because of the Blood Alliance's pressure, they returned to Flourishing Cloud City in advance. They organized everyone to Oriental City and quickly contacted Jian Wushuang. Even in a place like Oriental City, Transcendence Realm experts still had a place of their own. Even compared to the many geniuses of medium-sized and large sea domains, young Master Hai Long and the others were not inferior. This was why they were known as the Golden Era. These people were not inferior in any sea domain. Although it was not a long time since they came to the Blood World this time, there was no doubt that everyone had gained a lot of benefits. Their strength had improved by leaps and bounds compared to when they were in the Flourished Cloud Sea region. The Law Manifestation realm might not be considered much in a human race martial arts holy land like the Eastern Sea region, but in the Flourished Cloud Sea region, it could be regarded as a big shot. They had already entered the top ruler level of the Flourished Cloud Sea region. Without the Blood World trial, they might need 100 or 200 years or even thousands of years to cross the threshold of the Law Manifestation realm. Even in the past, it was already very impressive to be able to enter the half-step Law Manifestation late stage in the Blood World trial. Now, there were so many people entering the Law Manifestation realm. It could be seen that this generation of the Flourish Cloud Sea region was really ushering in a big explosion. Many geniuses and heroes broke out at once. However, young Master Hai Long was still a little unwilling. If they were given some time, not to mention entering the ruler level, they could even step into the ranks of the top experts in one go. In the next thousands of years, they could go further and even have the opportunity to step beyond the Law Manifestation realm. They all knew very well that although there was such a long time in the future, their potential was about to reach the end. In the future, there might be a chance to reach the peak of the Law Manifestation realm, but whether they could cross over was a big problem. Every realm in the Law Manifestation realm was a huge catastrophe. It was impossible to cross several realms in a row like this, unless they were like Jian Wushuang, Yi Shiwen, Bai Hamo, and others who had a lot of time to travel. However, they also knew that it was impossible. They had already entered the Law Manifestation realm and were not far from succession. Although their forces gave them great help, giving them far more benefits than ordinary people in the early stage, it also restricted their development. They couldn't go anywhere they wanted like Yi Shiwen and the others. This was a luxury for them. At this moment, everyone was gathered in this inn, waiting for the space-time gate to open in the sky above the Eastern City. They would then pass through the space-time gate and return to their respective seas. I wanted to give Big Brother Yi a surprise. Who knew he was so powerful now? Bai Hamo said, depressingly. Compared with when Yi Shiwen left, Bai Hamo's strength had undergone a tremendous change. Initially, he wanted to give Yi Shiwen a surprise, or even show off in front of Yi Shiwen. Who would have thought that Yi Shiwen's progress would be even faster than his? A month ago, he had already killed a master at the third heaven of the Transcendence realm. Although some people said that he relied on the emergence immortal exterminating saber, no one could recognize his own strength. This caused him to feel slightly depressed. He's a monster, not a normal person. At this time, young Master Hai Long's words immediately resonated with many people. Indeed, in their opinion, Yi Shiwen's battle record was simply that of a monster, not a normal person. How could a human be compared with a monster? Thinking of this, everyone's mood was much better. Yes, they were humans. Humans couldn't be compared with monsters. Even if many of them were called monstrous geniuses in their respective seas, compared with Yi Shiwen, it seemed that there was nothing to be proud of. It was especially so for young Master Sea Dragon and the others. When they knew Yi Shiwen, what kind of strength did he have now? It was simply unimaginable. If they didn't know Yi Shiwen's strength all along, they probably wouldn't really believe that Yi Shiwen's progress had reached such a terrifying level. Especially when he entered the blood world, his strength progress was beyond the imagination of everyone in the Yuan dynasty. If they could still be regarded as at the same level as Yi Shiwen before, they were now far behind Yi Shiwen. It's a pity. Damn it, I don't want to go back like this. There's still a year and a half left, Pei Xingqian said gloomily with his palm on his forehead. During this time, he had made great progress. Even he didn't expect that he could step into the law manifestation realm in one fell swoop in the blood world. In the past, it was not easy for the young experts of the Flourish Cloud Sea region to step into the half-step law manifestation realm in the blood world. The law manifestation realm was very rare. Most importantly, he had only just passed the halfway mark. If the remaining year and a half passed, even he didn't know to what extent his strength would improve. How could he be willing to go back now? The others also had the same expression. At this time, no one wanted to leave like this. Damn blood union, a bunch of stinking bugs, rats that can't see the light. At this time, Si Kuoyan also shouted very gloomily. Although there were countless dangers in the blood world, there were also countless opportunities after all, especially for the top geniuses like them. The ambition in their hearts was definitely not limited to this little bit. Boom! A loud and terrifying sound came from above the city. An unprecedented terrifying pressure descended from the sky and fell on the entire Oriental city. Enemy attack. Si Kuoyan was the first to react. Some time ago, the Oriental city had already experienced such a situation. Therefore, when this happened, everyone immediately reacted. Everyone ran out of the inn and looked up to the sky. They saw countless blood-colored flying beasts forming an endless blood cloud in the sky, swooping down in a murderous manner. At this time, all the formations on the Oriental city suddenly came to life, and countless light beams blasted out. Boom! 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 Countless light beams swept out, and the blood cloud formed by the blood-colored demonic birds was directly annihilated under the attack of these light beams. However, the number of these flying beasts was too much, as if there was no end to them. They quickly filled up the empty space, and the boundless blood cloud did not seem to reduce at all. Chapter 11:25. Blood Alliance. This was the only thought left in everyone's mind. Apart from the Blood Alliance, who else could have such a large-scale blood beast attack? Although the blood beasts also triggered a blood beast frenzy and attacked the city, it was rare to see such a large-scale and organized attack. Everyone continued to look. Sure enough, above these blood beasts, some vague figures appeared in the blood cloud. Damn it, it's really these guys who can't see the light. We're leaving soon. Aren't they going to let us have a good time? Damn it, let's fight them. Everyone was filled with righteous indignation. The Blood Alliance intended to kill them all. They didn't even allow them to retreat. They really treated them as food, hunting them down, and refining them into blood yuan pills. The warriors outside the city also returned to the city, using the city's protection to deal with these blood-colored birds. The battle started almost in a few breaths. These birds' arrival came without the slightest warning, and they didn't have any intention to communicate first. A fierce battle ensued as soon as they arrived. Everyone was a little nervous, especially many experts from small sea regions. At this time, they were even more nervous. Many of them were only at the Transcendent Realm 9th level. Even the most powerful ones were only at the half-step law manifestation initial realm. They didn't encounter the kind of battle a month ago. At this time, seeing countless blood-colored birds rushing down at a crazy speed, one could imagine the horror. It felt like their lives were under the control of these blood-colored birds. Although most of these blood-colored birds were only at the Transcendent Realm 9th level, when the number reached tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands, it was extremely terrifying. Many people even thought that the Blood Alliance had sent all the birds in the Blood Realm here. Among these birds, there were a large number of birds that were half a step to the Transcendence Realm, or even the Transcendence Realm. If they were not careful, they would become their meal. Fortunately, they were still fighting against the Oriental city's defense. They couldn't rush in for a while. A large number of blood-colored wastelands were annihilated by countless light beams, but many arrays were also destroyed by these blood-colored birds. The battle was in full swing. Those pests from Blood Alliance sure are persistent. A cold female voice came from the city lord's mansion. Then, a shocking whip shadow lashed out. It actually broke through the sky and whipped a group of birds that swooped down. The leader was a Dharma plane bird that was originally leading the charge to destroy the city's defenses. Bang! 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 The purple whip shadow continued to attack. Every time it attacked, a Transcendence Realm bird would explode. These Transcendence Realm flying beasts posed the greatest threat to Dongfang City's defense, and the purple whip shadows were specifically targeting these Transcendence Realm flying beasts. Everyone knew that Changzi had made a move. As one of the two top experts in the city, Changzi's prestige was not inferior to Zheng Bai's. However, compared to Zheng Bai, Changzi was more low-key. In other words, she didn't care about these things at all. Basically, she stood behind Zheng Bai. Not only Changzi, but at this time, the other Transcendence Realm experts in the city also began to move in groups of 2s and 3s. They all knew that these ordinary Transcendent Realm 9th level and half-step Law Manifestation flying beasts were not a big threat. The real threat was the Law Manifestation level flying beasts. Only with them could they attack the Oriental City's array and defense. As for those half-step Law Manifestation flying beasts, it was impossible to break through the Oriental City's defense. It was nothing more than relying on numbers. Everyone knew that it was time to fight with their lives on the line. Soon, the space-time door would open, and they would return to their respective sea regions. The purpose of these Blood Alliance experts was the opposite of theirs. They wanted to prevent them from returning to their respective sea regions. They wanted to keep as many of them here as possible. The more people who stayed, the more materials they had for refining the Blood Yuan elixir. Kill these rotten bastards. Let's go all out. We can still kill the Blood Alliance before we leave. That's great. Many warriors relied on the entire city wall for defense. They were able to attack the blood-colored beasts outside, but the blood-colored beasts couldn't attack them. However, they weren't so happy because they knew very well that the real Blood Alliance experts hadn't been released yet. As for these blood-colored beasts that they had enslaved, they wouldn't care no matter how many of them died. Anyway, they were born and bred by nature. It was nothing at all. Boom, boom, boom. The aftermath of the battle could be felt everywhere. At this time, everyone was flying in the air and fighting against those flying beasts. However, as the formations were destroyed one after another, more and more experts were killed. With the destruction of each formation, the experts within it would be hard to escape the calamity. The blood-colored beast's offensive was also gradually crushing down. Tens of millions of people from the entire city had launched a collective attack. Their formidable might was simply unimaginable. Soon, the number of blood-colored beasts summoned by the Blood Alliance was getting fewer and fewer. Gradually, people could see the blood-colored clouds in the sky instead of a large number of blood-colored beasts. However, the Oriental City's defenses that had been added over the years had almost been demolished by now. However, the number of casualties was much less than what they had expected. However, everyone hadn't even started to feel happy when countless roars began to spread from the horizon. Then countless blood-colored frenzied tides appeared. Countless blood beasts and blood demons began to sweep over from afar. The complexions of many weaker experts began to change drastically. The Oriental City's defenses had been able to withstand the onslaught of these beasts a while ago. But now, the defenses of the Oriental City had been almost destroyed. So, it was very likely that they would have to fight on their own. The number of these Blood Alliance experts wasn't very large. In fact, they weren't even worth mentioning when compared to the tens of millions of experts from the human race and the sea race. Therefore, they had been regarded as a major threat for a very long time. However, it wasn't clear when they had started to train and raise blood demons. They had ordered the blood beasts to fight for them. This had made up for their lack of numbers. On the contrary, their numbers had become their advantage. It wasn't that there weren't any experts among the human race and the sea race who could tame beasts. However, it was useless because they had discovered that they couldn't command any kind of blood beasts or blood demons in the blood world unless they had brought them in from the outside. This had made the experts of the human race and the sea race give up the idea of using blood beasts and blood demons as a means of counterattack. They could only rely on their own strength to fight them head-on. This was something that couldn't be helped. It seemed that they were restricted by the laws. Unless they were like the people of the Blood Alliance and had completely integrated into the blood world, it was impossible to command these blood beasts and blood demons in the blood world. When countless blood beasts were galloping, it was simply unimaginable how terrifying it was. The ground was boiling. Many blood beasts were galloping in midair. Their claws tore through the air and trampled on the blood aura. It was a terrifying sight to behold. Everyone held their breath and focused their attention. They knew that the truly arduous battle had just begun. If they could endure it, not only would they be able to return to their respective sea territories, but they would also be able to make a fortune. At this moment, a cold voice came from the city lord's mansion. When the space-time door opens, don't be anxious. Transcendent Realm warriors will leave first, followed by half-step law manifestation realm experts, and finally law manifestation realm experts. Everyone must leave in this order. If anyone doesn't follow this order, don't blame us, the Eastern Sea region, for being ruthless. When everyone heard it, they realized that it was Zheng Bai's voice. However, his voice was filled with vigor. Many people's spirits were lifted. It was undeniable that Zheng Bai had become the spiritual pillar of the entire Eastern City. He had become a flag. As long as Zheng Bai was safe and sound, the morale of the entire city would be boosted. No one objected to this arrangement. If they were to leave in a disorderly manner after the space-time crack opened, the efficiency would be lowered. Originally, there weren't many people in the space-time crack near the Eastern City. However, because of the Blood Alliance, tens of millions of people were gathered here. If the powerful experts stayed behind, they could still resist for a while. If the weak warriors stayed behind, it would be equivalent to sending themselves to death. Moreover, according to this order, the people of the Eastern Sea region would definitely be the ones to stay behind. After all, they had the most experts, and Zheng Bai was the main force to stay behind. What else could they say? Although many people weren't as heroic as Zheng Bai, they still possessed this bit of rationality. After hearing this, many Transcendent Realm warriors were even more excited. Originally, they thought that once the space-time crack opened, the high-level experts would be the first to leave, and they would be abandoned. In reality, it was more worthwhile this way. A genius was comparable to 100 mediocre people. If they could protect the elites, they wouldn't care about the other mediocre people. Even if they were known as geniuses in the sea region, they would only be mediocre when compared to the numerous human experts in the Endless Sea region. However, they didn't expect Zheng Bai to make such a decision. The experts would stay behind and let them leave first. To them, this was no different from being reborn. If it weren't for this, they wouldn't be able to resist the Blood Alliance's attack. Chen Chushan, I know that you've arrived. Why are you hiding? Come out, said Zheng Bai loudly in the city lord's mansion. Chapter 11:26. Chen Chushan, I know you're here. Why are you hiding? Come out, said Zheng Bai loudly in the city lord's residence. Chen Chushan? This name sounds familiar. How can it not be familiar? How can I not be familiar with him? In the previous Blood Realm trial, there was a prodigy in the Sea Clan. It was said that when he first entered the Blood Realm, he was just at the Transcendent Realm's 6th level. He was just average. Who knows, in the end, he broke all the way to the Law Manifestation Realm. His progress was amazing. It was simply unimaginable. It was said that he was only 100 years old at that time. Originally, he could wait until this session with his age. At that time, Chen Chushan would be invincible. 100 years old, and someone managed to cultivate to the Law Manifestation Realm? Oh my God, you must be joking, someone said in disbelief, because they were all geniuses. Many people regarded them as their goal, calling them geniuses and monstrous geniuses. However, in front of Chen Chushan, they didn't seem to be anything at all. That's right. This news is too unbelievable. However, I didn't expect that after the blood world reopened, Chen Chushan didn't come out from the blood world. Since then, he disappeared without a trace. I thought that he was dead, but I didn't expect that he was still alive. Could it be that he joined the Blood Alliance? Jian Wushuang and the others were shocked. There were tens of millions of people in the Oriental City. Any one of them could be regarded as a prodigy in the outside world. They might even be the monstrous figures of various sea regions and forces. To be able to ascend to the transcendent realm, 8th level, 9th level, or even higher within a few hundred years was already a difficult feat in itself. Not to mention, to be able to ascend to such a level within a short span of 100 years, it wouldn't be wrong to call this person a prodigy. I thought I was already a genius, but after entering the blood world, I realized that there are as many geniuses as dogs in this place. It's enough to hurt my self-esteem. How can there still be such a person? God, you're too unfair, said Saiku Yin gloomily. For a narcissistic person like him, the existence of such a character was simply an insurmountable bug. In terms of cultivation speed, Yi Shiwen may be able to compete with him, but in terms of age, although Yi Shiwen is not that old, but he is already several times older than him. Yao Qian said. She was the most qualified person to say this. After all, she had witnessed Yi Shiwen progressing from the transcendent realm all the way to this level. Such an improvement speed was simply incredible. Although Yi Shiwen was only in the half-step law manifestation realm, he was only halfway through the blood realm trial. It was very likely that he would reach the law manifestation realm in the end. He had thought that Yi Shiwen's progress was already shocking. However, he hadn't expected that there would always be someone stronger than him. There was always someone stronger than him. Moreover, there was an existence that was even more monstrous than Yi Shiwen. If Chen Chushan wasn't trapped in the blood realm, no one knew how strong Chen Chushan would be after hundreds of years. He might have even surpassed the law manifestation realm, which was regarded as the most terrifying barrier by countless warriors, and entered the highest realm. Experts that surpassed the law manifestation realm were existences that possessed an unimaginably lofty status, even in the ancient Barrens continent and the Endless Sea region. They were the true big shots of the ancient Barrens continent. They could summon the wind and summon the rain, and they were omnipotent. Everyone nodded and were a little speechless. They originally thought that Yi Shiwen was monstrous enough. They didn't expect him to be a true monstrous genius. Compared to Chen Chushan, Yi Shiwen didn't seem to be much. After all, his age was indeed several times that of Chen Chushan. However, they obviously didn't know Yi Shiwen's background. Although Yi Shiwen was slightly older than Chen Chushan, his starting point was much lower than Chen Chushan. When Chen Chushan could come into contact with the transcendent realm, law manifestation realm, and even those that surpassed the law manifestation realm, Yi Shiwen was still worrying about how to ascend to the innate realm. His starting point was the lowest among all of them. I didn't expect Zheng Bai to be able to sense my arrival even though you're just sitting in your residence. Not simple at all. At this moment, a sinister laughter resounded from the sky. Immediately after, a person in a blood-red robe walked out from the void. His blood-red robe was embroidered with gold, which showed that his position within the Blood Alliance was extraordinary. This was the Sea Clan's genius that had disappeared previously, Chen Chushan. However, he was different from the other Blood Alliance members. Other than the abnormal blood-red color on his body, there wasn't any rotten flesh. He looked exactly like a normal person. How is that difficult? I can smell the rotten smell on your body even from 1,000 miles away, said Zheng Bai coldly. Immediately after, a white light shot out from the residence and flew towards Chen Chushan's position in midair. As the white light dissipated, it was Zheng Bai. Compared to a month ago, he didn't have the sickly look from before. Instead, he seemed to be in high spirits. No one knew what kind of miracle medicine he had consumed. In just a short month, he had recovered to his peak state. Hearing Zheng Bai's words, Chen Chushan's face immediately darkened, and he said coldly, You have the strength to talk. It seems that the wound I gave you last time is already healed. It's all thanks to you. Without destruction, there can't be construction. Not only have I recovered to my original state, but I've also improved even further. I'm not far from breaking through to the law manifestation 4th level, said Zheng Bai calmly. Without destruction, there can't be construction. I've really underestimated you. It's rare to have a genius like you among the humans, said Chen Chushan with a laugh. However, personally killing such a genius has always been my proudest achievement. Genius? How can I compare to you? Zheng Bai said faintly. Under normal circumstances, if we were to meet in the outside world, I might not even have the qualifications to catch up to you within 1,000 years. Unfortunately, no matter what, you're just a stinky bug in the gutter. You can't see the light of day, so you can only use such disgusting methods. Chen Chushan's expression suddenly changed slightly. Zheng Bai's words had poked his sore spot. For him, staying in the blood world by accident was an eternal pain. It was a pain that he would never be able to let go of. If he had developed normally in the outside world, his current level of cultivation would have been unimaginably high. He might have even reached the peak of the transcendence realm, or even crossed the natural mode and entered a higher realm. So what if Zheng Bai had an illustrious reputation amongst the younger generation? In his eyes, Zheng Bai was just like an ant. Zheng Bai didn't even have the qualifications to be mentioned in the same breath as him. What right did he have to stand in front of him? As he thought of this, his blood-colored eyes emitted a terrifying, ominous glint as he stared at Zheng Bai. It doesn't matter. No matter how depraved I am, you won't have a chance to get out. You won't even have the qualifications to be depraved because you will be refined into a blood yuan elixir. From then on, you will become my greatest help in entering the law manifestation realm, said Chen Chushan after he calmed down. You could be considered a talent of your generation. The blood union, which was originally lost, was actually reborn in your hands. Moreover, in these hundreds of years, it has quietly developed to such a scale. It's really hard to imagine, said Chen Chushan as he looked at Zheng Bai faintly. There was a sudden exclamation in the city. The blood union was actually re-established in Chen Chushan's hands. This made many people somewhat incredulous, because the strength of the blood union had forced many experts of the human clan to retreat. Many people guessed that the blood union should have been passed down for many generations and had been lying low. It was just that it suddenly erupted during this year's trial by blood and fire. However, they didn't expect that it would actually be re-established by the previous Chen Chushan. In just a few hundred years, Chen Chushan was actually able to achieve this. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to describe him as a talent. It's just relying on some of the old foundations left behind in the blood union. If one didn't personally take over everything, I'm afraid that no one would be able to imagine how prosperous the blood union was in the past. Even after its decline, the foundations left behind were far beyond what you can imagine, said Chen Chushan with a mischievous smile. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to reach such a level in just a few hundred years. Unfortunately, you were wrong. If you only took over the blood union, it would be fine. You shouldn't have targeted the human clan. Even if I die today, I will make you stay behind. You scourge, said Zheng Bai. Don't make it sound so dignified. If you were trapped in the blood world, would you be indifferent? Do you know what I was thinking at that time? I just wanted to live. I tried my best to recall everything about the blood union. I spent a whole 100 years looking for the remains of the blood union. Indeed, hard work pays off. After 100 years, I finally found a base of the blood union. I found the blood yuan pill that could allow me to live. I also found the refining method of the blood yuan pill. Chen Chushan looked at Zheng Bai with a hideous smile and said, "Do you know why I was trapped in the blood world? It was because of the experts of the human clan that I swore that I would definitely teach you a lesson. I would kill every single one of you in the blood world. From then on, the human clan would no longer have the qualification to enter the blood world. If one came in, I would kill one. If two came in, I would kill a pair. I would like to see if you have more people, or if I can kill you faster." The people in the underground city were startled when they heard this. Chen Chushan was actually trapped in the blood world because of the experts of the human clan. However, at this time, they didn't have the mood to pay more attention to this. This was because countless blood fiends and blood demons had already rushed to the bottom of the city. Chapter 11:27. The Oriental city's defense was almost depleted by the blood-colored demon beasts. The remaining barriers and arrays were not enough to block these blood-colored barriers. Almost in the first wave of impact, these blood-colored barriers were completely destroyed. These blood fiends and blood demons were about to reach the top of the city wall, so they had no time to pay attention to the situation in the sky. However, everyone was paying attention to the battle above, because they knew very well that the battle above was not the battle below, but the one that would decide the outcome of the battle. The Blood Alliance also knew very well that the reason why they commanded these blood beasts and blood demons to attack the city was just to delay everyone and prevent them from supporting Zhengbai. Otherwise, tens of millions of experts, even if they were all Transcendent Realm 9th level experts, could inflict heavy damage on them with a full blow. Boom! Yi Qianqian slashed out with her sword. Cold air filled the air, freezing everything within a radius of 100 meters. Then, the ice suddenly exploded. The blood fiends and blood demons within it were either frozen to death or exploded to death. It was not that the range of her cold air was limited, but the wider the range, the weaker the power. If necessary, she could even freeze the space within a radius of hundreds of miles. Jian Wushuang and the others also attacked and killed the blood fiends and blood demons in front of them. Although there were some Dharma Manifestation Realm beasts among the blood fiends and blood demons, they could not pose any threat to them. Many Law Manifestation Realm blood beasts and blood demons were killed in an instant as soon as they rushed to the city wall. It did not pose much of a problem to them at all. What's there to say to this guy? I wasn't there that day. Now that he's here, let's kill him. At this time, a purple figure flew out of the city lord mansion and swept into the air. It was Changzi, holding a dragon striker whip in her hand. She looked at Chen Chushan with a cold expression. You came alone today. This is your biggest mistake, said Changzi with a sneer. Not long after her, a dozen figures leaped up. They were the Law Manifestation Realm 3rd level human experts from the Sea region. Do you think I came here alone today? Chen Chushan sneered and said, apart from the two of you, the others are just chickens and dogs. Do you still want to leave today? Don't even think about it. Just stay here. Upon hearing Chen Chushan's words, Zheng Bai's expression tensed up immediately. He was very clear that Chen Chushan was not a person who would brag recklessly. Since he had said so, there must be a reason behind it. Really, now that you mention it, I still want to launch a sneak attack. But now it's all for naught. At this moment, a slightly skinny figure walked out of the void. His gaze was as sharp as a knife as he stared at Zheng Bai, one of the 4 heavenly kings of the Southern Sea region, the Ghost Spirit King. Zheng Bai looked at the person who had arrived and revealed his identity. Without a doubt, this person belonged to the Southern Sea region. Since he had appeared here at this moment, he was naturally not standing on Zheng Bai's side. This ghostly spirit king looked abnormally skinny, and his hair was also pale yellow. He looked as though he was malnourished, but very few people would have thought that he was actually one of the Southern Sea region's 4 heavenly kings, the ghostly spirit king. Zheng Bai frowned. This was another troublesome opponent. As the top circle of the Endless Sea region's younger generation, even if they had not met Guamian, they were still very familiar with each other. This was because there were only a few people in total, and they were the most direct opponents among each other. Only they were qualified to be each other's opponents. They might not even care about the others. This ghostly spirit king was also an opponent of the same level as him. Even if he was not as good as Zheng Bai, there was still a slight difference, so he was definitely a troublesome opponent. Why are you talking so much nonsense with him? Kill all these humans. Don't leave a single one alive. At this moment, an extremely cold voice came from the void, and a slender figure walked out of the void. It was a beautiful woman in a dark blue dress. Northern Sea region's Fei Baifeng, Changzi said as he looked at the woman in front of him with an unfriendly gaze. Perhaps it was because of the relationship between a woman and a top-notch expert. Even a mere glance would cause enmity between them. The experts of the Southern Sea region and the Northern Sea region have appeared. What about the Western Sea region? Zheng Bai calmed down at this moment. Smart, I like to talk to smart people. Following this voice, Another figure with a terrifying aura stood out from the void. It was a handsome man in a luxurious robe, and he was holding an iron fan in his hand. He kept fanning the fan, and a cool breeze blew on the hair on his head, causing it to flutter. Western Sea Region's young master Amano, Zheng Bai said, I didn't expect that the Sea Clan would actually join hands with the Blood Union. Don't you know the characteristics of the Blood Union? They need a sufficient amount of Blood Yuan pills if they want to survive. I think you should be familiar with Blood Yuan pills. Of course I know, but it is precisely because of this that we must keep you people here. TSK. Tens of millions of human experts will be enough for the Sea Clan experts of the Blood Union to use for a very long time. This place will also become our hunting ground in the future, and you humans will be eliminated. King Ghost Spirit sneered and said, You have a big appetite. At this time, even Zheng Bai couldn't help but be shocked by their big appetite. If tens of millions of people were to stay here, it would be a terrifying scene. Not only would the Blood Union in the Blood World obtain sufficient Blood Yuan pills, but it would also swell up to an unmanageable level. Moreover, the human race would also have a talent gap because of the death of these tens of millions of people. The serious consequences would be unimaginable. It's good to have a big appetite. In this day and age, the bold will be stuffed to death, and the timid will starve to death. Ah! Young Master Amano laughed and said, Your appetite is indeed big, but you'd better not be stuffed to death. Changzi sneered and said, The dragon striker whip in her hand began to emit bursts of dragon roars. However, her expression became even more dignified. She was very clear that any one of these top-notch experts was enough to become her formidable enemy. Moreover, 4 of them had appeared in one go. However, Zheng Bai was thinking more about this matter. If the Sea Clan and the Blood Union were to join hands, then this matter would become really serious. If it was only the Blood Union, then perhaps it wouldn't be a big deal. It would be impossible for them to threaten the defense of the Oriental City. Moreover, there were tens of millions of experts in the Oriental City who would dare to provoke the tiger's whiskers. However, the situation would be completely different if the Sea Clan was supporting them from behind. Just these 3 people in front of him were already a huge problem. However, these 3 people were definitely not the biggest problem. The Sea race definitely didn't only have these 3 experts. As for how many experts were hidden in the 3 super sea regions of the Sea race, perhaps even he had no way of knowing. Maybe there were even more experts that he didn't know about hidden among them. The human race was already at a disadvantage. Moreover, even so, they still had Changzi as their trump card. The Sea Clan definitely had more experts. If all of them were to gather here, then there would undoubtedly be a terrifying situation. Let's directly attack. Kill all of these people. Hurry up! Fei Baifeng said slightly impatiently. Boom! As Fei Baifeng spoke, she made her move in an instant. Her opponent was none other than Changzi. And just like how Changzi found her an eyesore, she also found Changzi an eyesore, a girl who was even more beautiful than her. Such a person simply shouldn't exist in this world. Suddenly, countless feathers appeared around her body. These feathers were driven by true Yuan and started to rotate crazily. They condensed into a long spear and instantly shot towards Changzi. Is that all? Changzi shouted delicately. The dragon whip in her hand instantly turned into a long dragon. The huge dragon fiercely hit the long feather spear. Boom! A terrifying explosion sounded, and an unimaginable shockwave instantly swept out. Both of them were already at the peak of the 3rd heaven of the Transcendence realm. Moreover, they were the best of the best. Just a casual attack from them would have boundless power. Countless blood qi instantly spread out and shattered. This was also the reason why Zheng Bai chose to fight in midair. If they chose to fight in the city, just the aftermath alone would be enough to sweep the entire city into ashes. Let's continue the battle that we didn't finish the last time. Zheng Bai, I will definitely chop off your head. Your blood essence will be refined into the best blood yuan elixir to help me enter the 4th heaven of the Transcendence realm. So die. At this time, Qin Chushan, who had been enduring, finally made his move. A long saber appeared in his hand, and the saber light covered half of the sky. It was extremely dazzling. He didn't come personally for the previous encirclement. Instead, more than a dozen of his subordinates were killed by Zheng Bai and Yi Shiwen. This was because at that time he was also seriously injured like Zheng Bai. It was just like what Yi Shiwen thought. Indeed, if he didn't personally hold Zheng Bai back, with the strength of the Blood Union's experts, it would be impossible to keep Zheng Bai here, let alone seriously injure him. However, it was precisely because of this that he was even more resentful in his heart. So many people couldn't keep Zheng Bai here. Let's settle this once and for all. This time, even if I die, I will kill you, you scourge. Zheng Bai snorted coldly. The sword light in his hand instantly cut through the sky and attacked. Chapter 11:28. The battle between Fei Baifeng and Changzi began. The purple dragon striker whip and countless white feathers fluttered in the sky. The feathers of Fei Baifeng turned into countless weapons in the sky and directly smashed down. It was exceptionally terrifying. As for the purple dragon striker whip, at this moment, it was like a true, enormous purple dragon was moving about within it. For a moment, it was hard to tell who was superior. On the other side, the battle between Zheng Bai and Chun Chushan was also on the verge of breaking out. Chun Chushan's saber momentum was like a mountain. It could be said that each saber was abnormally heavy and very terrifying. When the sabers slashed down, the endless blood qi exploded in an instant. On the contrary, Zheng Bai's sword moves were dexterous. Each of his moves was like a flying immortal. Each of his moves was like a divine stroke, pointing at Chun Chushan's weakest point. These were two extreme fighting styles, but they were displayed to the extreme. They constantly collided in the sky. It seemed more explosive than the battle between Fei Baifeng and Changzi. What should we do? It seems like we can't find an opponent among the human clan. Ghostly Spirit King glanced at the human clan experts in front of him and said. The complexion of these human clan experts suddenly turned ugly. Although they were not comparable to Zheng Bai and Changzi, they could be ranked at the top among the many young human clan experts. At this time, they were actually being looked down upon. Although the opponent was the famous Ghostly Spirit King, they were being looked down upon too much. That's right. It's a pity that there are still a few human clan experts who haven't come in. Boring, really boring. How about this? Aren't there more than a dozen people here? Why don't we have a competition to see who can kill more? Young Master Amonofan Taishan and said, Good idea. Then I'll start first. At this time, Ghostly Spirit King screamed and suddenly rushed out. His body swept out a dim light. Damn it, shameless. Prince Amano screamed, and his body instantly swept out. Damn it, delay them. We definitely can't let them have the chance to help Fei Baifeng and Chen Chushan. They actually dare to look down on us. Let them see how powerful we are. At this time, an expert of the human clan roared. I look down on you? How about it? At this time, Ghostly Spirit King's figure had already rushed in front of him. He lifted his leg and suddenly kicked. Bang! That expert was kicked solidly. With a blood-curdling scream, his body was instantly sent flying. Just one strike was enough to severely injure this expert, who was also at the third heaven of the Transcendence realm. The reputation of the Ghostly Spirit King was not simple. He was one of the Southern Sea region's 4 heavenly kings. At this time, Prince Amano had already killed his way into the group of more than a dozen experts. One of them was seriously injured, and the expert fell from the clouds and crashed into the city. Compared to the Ghost Spirit King, he seemed to be even more irritable. The faces of these experts were extremely ugly. Even though they were unwilling, they still understood the difference between them and these people. Get into formation. We must hold them back until Changzi or Zheng Bai can slaughter them. More than a dozen experts at the third heaven of the Transcendence realm joined forces to set up a formation. Even in the Blood Beast frenzy, they could move freely. However, when facing the two people in front of them, they could only barely maintain a balance. The battle in the city had become even more intense. Some of the blood fiends had already rushed up the city walls. Although they were quickly killed by more experts, there were already bad signs. These blood fiends were originally used to delay the experts. However, at this moment, they had displayed a terrifying combat strength. They were almost able to break through the eastern city. Poochie! Meow Cece killed a blood beast that was flying over with a sword. Blood splashed out and splashed on her body. However, the blood was bounced off by the chi and could not get close to her body. Seeing that she was carrying a big sword that was taller than her, everyone was a little shocked. This was definitely a violent Lolita. These blood beasts and blood beasts are increasing in number. Now, the defense of the Oriental City is gradually becoming useless. Meow Cece blew her long hair in front of her forehead gloomily. Although she was angry, she looked exceptionally cute. I don't know when Yi Shiwen will come out of his closed-door training. If he takes action, at least we can escape unscathed. Meow Cece said somewhat gloomily. As she spoke, she looked at the inn in the middle of the city. It seemed that in the endless battle, only that it had maintained its initial peace. Everyone nodded one after another. They didn't know when Yi Shiwen had become their spiritual leader. Although he might not speak much on normal days, in everyone's hearts, he was the kind of person who could turn the tide at the critical moment. So, we must guard the city wall even more. At this time, Gao Xian said, now that Yi Shiwen is in closed-door training, he can't be disturbed the most. We must guard the city wall. We must not let these beasts disturb his closed-door training. Yes, yes. Watch me. Everyone nodded one after another. Once again, they rushed towards those blood beasts and blood beasts. Although for Yi Qianqian and others, although the city wall was a little dangerous, it was not considered a fatal threat. After all, there were so many of them. There were many law manifestation realm experts guarding the city wall. Even if those law manifestation realm blood beasts rushed up, it would only be a dead end. However, for the others, it was already very dangerous. On many sections of the city wall, the blood beasts and blood beasts gradually began to appear. They had actually gradually caught up to them. Gradually, people began to feel powerless. Many people were accidentally killed by the blood beasts or had their heads bitten off by the blood beasts on the spot. They screamed endlessly. Their miserable corpses were left on the city wall, constantly twitching. Zheng Bai began to feel anxious in his heart. These people of the Blood Union were really crazy. They actually wanted to keep these tens of millions of people here. Although everyone knew that it was impossible at all, there would always be a portion of people who could escape. Even if only 1 million people were to stay, it was still an extremely large number. It was enough to make the Blood Union expand to a terrifying level. Perhaps they could not feel the threat of the Blood Union now. However, the next time the young talents of the human clan came, they would probably face such a terrifying threat. At that time, it might really be like what Qin Shushan said. Human experts would be slaughtered every time they went in. The consequences were simply unimaginable. This would be a huge loss for the entire human clan. Just in this short period of 1.5 years, the level of progress of the young experts of the human clan could be imagined. How important the Blood World trial was to the experts of the human clan in the entire Endless Sea region. The difference in strength between those who had entered the Blood World trial and those who hadn't was enough to reach the level of a generational difference. If he hadn't entered the Blood World, it would be impossible for him to reach the peak of the third heaven of the Transcendence realm in such a short period of time. If only the Sea Clan could enter the Blood World trial in the future, and the experts of the human clan couldn't enter the Blood World trial, then in the long run, the fragile balance between the human clan and the Sea Clan strength would also be completely destroyed. In the Endless Sea region, the strength of the human clan was originally the weaker side. If this continued, the gap between the human clan and the Sea Clan strength would be further widened. In a short period of time, the gap might not be visible. However, after a long time, the disadvantage of the human clan would further increase. At that time, it was very likely that the Endless Sea region would be affected. Damn it, you guys! The long sword in Zheng Bai's hand directly cut through the sky, and his movements became more and more intense. Moreover, he thought of a more terrifying point. Since the Sea Clan had already sent these people, would they send more experts? This was absolutely possible. Originally, when the human clan faced the Sea Clan, they were already at a disadvantage and were at a complete disadvantage. Now, there was the addition of these blood alliances. At this time, if the experts of the Sea Clan also joined in, then it would really be the straw that broke the camel's back. At that time, it was very likely that there would be millions of casualties. Are you anxious? Ha 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 ha. Chen Shushan didn't back down at all as he went tit for tat with Zheng Bai. At the same time, he laughed wildly. Can you stop so many of us by yourself? Don't you want to protect them? Don't you want them to leave first? Now, I will make you regret it. I will let you watch them become ingredients for the Blood Yuan elixir and become food in the stomachs of the blood fiends and blood demons. Ha ha ha. Good, good, good. I didn't expect you to be so cruel and merciless. In that case, I will kill you first. Zheng Bai angrily rebuked. It's really a headache for you to be so stubborn. So, why can I still live a good life, even though I have fallen into the blood world? But you can only retreat in defeat. Do you know why? It's because you are soft-hearted that you shouldn't have. Chen Shushan sneered and said. The long sword in his hand chopped down like a mountain. Anyway, those people are irrelevant. You would have had the opportunity to escape if you had wanted to. However, you didn't choose to leave. Instead, you chose to be buried with these people. You are really stupid. I didn't decide to perish together with you in the beginning. It was really a wrong decision. Now, I have decided to redeem my previous wrong decision. Zheng Bai suddenly grinned and said. His body's imposing aura instantly burst out. It looked abnormally majestic and vigorous. Wrong? Even if it's a wrong decision, you won't have the opportunity to redeem yourself. You want to be buried with me? That's really ridiculous. Chen Shushan sneered. However, his heart tightened and his whole body started to tense up. Suddenly, a sword streaked across the sky like a flying immortal. It was extremely dazzling. The sharp and glaring sword energy made people unable to open their eyes. It was extremely terrifying. Chapter 11:29. Suddenly, a sword pierced through the sky like a flying immortal. It was too dazzling, and the sword aura was sharp and glaring. It was so bright that people couldn't open their eyes. It was terrifying to the extreme. Zheng Bai slashed out with his sword as if he was on fire. Chen Shushan reacted immediately. His words were filled with disdain, as if he didn't put Zheng Bai in his eyes. However, Zheng Bai was a formidable enemy in his eyes. The long blade in his hand suddenly slashed out countless terrifying blade auras. It set off a dreadful blade wave. It was gorgeous and terrifying to the extreme. Clang! A horrifying loud noise resounded. At the point where the long saber and the long sword collided, a horrifying force burst out and spread in all directions, as though it wanted to annihilate everything. The battle between the top experts at the third sky of the Law Phase realm was horrifying. It's too horrifying. Among the younger generation, I'm afraid no one is stronger than them. I hope Zheng Bai wins. Otherwise, we might even face the danger of being annihilated. Countless experts below were astonished. Compared to the battles above, the battles below were still lacking by more than a level. When the saber and the sword collided, both sides felt the horrifying force rebounding onto each other. The brilliance of the two Earth-ranked magical artifacts, the swords and sabers, dimmed a little. Traces of blood seeped out from the corners of Zheng Bai's and Chen Shushan's mouths. In that exchange just now, neither side had held back. The rebounding force actually caused them to bleed. Are you crazy? Do you really want to perish here with me? Chen Shushan was a little bewildered as he said, Do you want the Sea Clan to reap the benefits? Zheng Bai wiped off the blood at the corner of his mouth and looked at Chen Shushan plainly. He said, Even if the Sea Clan reaps the benefits, it will only be for a moment. If we let you continue, it will truly be the end of our race. He could see it clearly. Even if this wave of human experts were completely annihilated, it would at most cause the human race in the Endless Sea region to lose a few hundred years of inheritance. Although it would hurt their vitality, it wouldn't be considered as a serious injury. At most, it would take a few hundred years for them to slowly recover. So what if the Sea Clan benefited? It would only be a few hundred years. To the ancient Barrens continent that could be calculated in tens of thousands of years, it was just a nap. However, if they left Chinchushan alone, then the human race would truly be exterminated from the blood world. In the future, their existence in the blood world would truly be exterminated. No matter what, Chinchushan must die. When Chinchushan saw the trace of madness in Zheng Bai's eyes, he was immediately startled. He couldn't understand Zheng Bai's persistence, nor could he understand his madness. In his opinion, Zheng Bai had really gone mad. He suddenly thrust his sword out again. It was fast and urgent, but it was erratic. Zheng Bai had already brought out 100% of his strength. He was determined to take down Shan Chushan, even if he had to exchange injuries for injuries. Bang! Chen Chushan took Zheng Bai's sword head-on and retreated. His body was almost blown away. His expression suddenly changed, and he was incomparably furious. Zheng Bai, I think you're really tired of living, Chen Chushan roared. This Zheng Bai actually wants to perish together with me for the sake of those ants in his eyes. Doesn't he know that in this world, there's nothing more precious than one's own life? As long as one's life existed, there would be hope for everything. However, if one's life is gone, what's the point of living? Boom! 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 Zheng Bai's originally elegant style was gone in an instant. What was left was a terrifying battle, a crazy battle, and an indomitable will. Even if there are millions of people, I'll continue. Facing such a crazy Zheng Bai, Chen Chushan didn't dare to relax. If he was careless, he might be killed by Zheng Bai on the spot. Hee, let's perish together. Zheng Bai's eyes were filled with an unimaginable look of madness. Damn, lunatic, you're really a lunatic. I don't want to perish together with you. I still have a long lifespan of several thousand years. I will certainly break through this damned limit and leave this damned blood world. I don't want to die together with you. Chen Chushan roared. His expression had become abnormally dignified. He couldn't understand why Zheng Bai was so crazy. However, he was very clear about one thing. If he couldn't defeat Zheng Bai, he might really perish together with him if he wasn't careful. His stature was tall and strong. Countless densely packed scales had begun to grow on his body. Numerous water vapors had gathered under his feet and formed monstrous waves. He was like the god of the sea that controlled everything. He had finally stimulated the bloodline in his body and restored his Sea Clan's real body. He wanted to kill Zheng Bai. Zheng Bai, you forced me into this state. You deserve to die 10,000 times. Chen Chushan said, I don't know how much blood chi will be consumed in this battle. Perhaps even I will age prematurely. However, it doesn't matter. The blood yuan pill refined from your essence blood is enough to make up for all the losses. Also, these ants below will become my blood food. They will be refined into blood yuan pills for me to eat. Chen Chushan said with a cold look in his eyes. It was as if he was looking at a lifeless ant. The human clan is born to be the blood food of other clans. Don't you know that? Know what? Zheng Bai just sneered. The long sword in his hand made a buzzing sound. I only know that you will perish here today. No one can save you. Swoosh! The long sword emitted a white brilliance that instantly slashed towards Chen Chushan. Even though Chen Chushan had restored his Sea Clan's real body and his strength was a notch higher, Zheng Bai still attacked without the slightest hesitation. Jie. On the other side, the king of ghostly spirits directly clawed into the heart of an expert at the third sky of the Law Phase realm. He forcefully pulled out a blood-red heart and directly crushed it. His mouth let out a sinister laugh, and that expert immediately stopped breathing. At this time, he took a glance at the battle between Zheng Bai and Chen Chushan. He was secretly surprised. These two people could be called the peerless heaven's pride of their generation. Originally, Qin Shushan was born hundreds of years earlier than Zheng Bai. It was destined that he would be stronger than Zheng Bai for a long time. Perhaps it would take 1,000 years for Zheng Bai to catch up with Chen Shushan's cultivation. However, he did not expect that they would meet in such a way in the blood world. It was hard to imagine that if it was him, he might not have too much confidence in facing either one of these two people. Zheng Bai was a person that even he was exceptionally afraid of. If there were a few more such experts in the human clan, perhaps the situation would be completely different. On the other side, the battle between Chang Zi and Fei Baifeng had also entered a white-hot stage. It was equally matched with the battle between Zheng Bai and Qin Shushan. The difference was that Chang Zi was obviously a notch higher than Fei Baifeng. The Dragon Striker Whip had beaten Fei Baifeng until he retreated step by step. Although it was difficult to injure Fei Baifeng in a short period of time, it was already shocking enough. However, he did not have the intention to rescue Fei Baifeng. Although they were cooperating, it was only that simple. Other than today, they would still be competitors, life and death enemies. Having such an expert less was not a bad thing for them. In their eyes, this time, the human clan was completely finished. They had lost the ability to turn the tables. It was already a problem how many people could survive. With the destruction of this expert in the hands of the Ghost Spirit King, the formation formed by more than a dozen Transcendence Realm experts was instantly broken. Mr. Amano also instantly showed his prowess and easily blew the two experts apart on the spot with a gust of wind. Although they were all third sky of Transcendence Realm experts, these two people were obviously more than a notch higher than the others. Damn it, how could it be like this? The remaining experts' faces were abnormally ugly. At this time, Zheng Bai was blocked by the transformed Qin Shushan. Although Chang Zi had the upper hand against Fei Baifeng, it was only an upper hand. There were no signs of an immediate victory. If this continued, perhaps the entire situation would collapse. In the end, it was because they were not strong enough. More than a dozen people were helpless against two people. Wait a minute, you stop these people first? There are some things I want to confirm personally. The ghostly spirit king's eyes suddenly looked at an inn in the city. His eyes were wandering. Suddenly, his heart palpitated, and the source of his palpitations was in that inn. It was as if there was a fierce beast lying in it, making him feel a terrifying threat. He had only felt this kind of feeling a few times in his life, but every time he felt it, it was accurate. Hence, he trusted his intuition very much. Could it be a backup arranged by the human clan? Impossible. This was simply impossible. Hence, he immediately decided to find out. As he spoke, he did not care about what young Master Amano said and directly flew down. You? Young Master Amano was a little speechless. He did not know what the Ghostly Spirit King was going to do, but at this time, he did not have time to blame the Ghostly Spirit King because more than a dozen third sky of Transcendence Realm experts had already besieged him. The Ghostly Spirit King's figure instantly flew down. The wind blew by his ears, and his hair fluttered. There was a somewhat fierce look in his eyes. No matter what is in there, whether it is a fierce beast or a backup arranged by the human clan, it doesn't matter. All of you die. Spiritual essence condensed on his hands, exuding a terrifying wave of spiritual essence. It turned into a frenzy of energy, sweeping out in circles. Swish! Suddenly, both of his hands moved. In the air, he directly clawed at an inn in the city. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He was confident in himself. With his claw, regardless of whether there was an ambush or not, the people inside would die. It was impossible to survive. Chapter 1130. Just as the pair of ghostly claws were about to grab the inn, a sharp sword chi came from the sky and swept out. Endless ice chi actually froze the surroundings. Boom! That pair of ghost claws fiercely collided with the long sword, and a huge explosion sound rang out. That group of ghost claws actually had a huge wound cut open. The Ghost Spirit King screamed, and immediately retracted his hands. The huge wound on his hands was clearly visible, so deep that the bones could be seen. If not for the fact that his hands were not ordinary, Just that sword strike just now would have cut his hands in half. Who? The ghostly spirit king's expression was uncertain as he looked into the distance. He saw the figure of a woman standing leisurely. It was Yi Qianqian. Who are you? The ghostly spirit king looked at the woman and was somewhat surprised. He was very clear about his strength. He even dared to fight Jingbai. Although he did not use his full strength, he was very clear that it was already equivalent to the full strength of an expert at the third sky of the Transcendence realm. Unexpectedly, his hands were cut by this sword. Get lost! Yi Qianqian only said concisely. What if I don't go? The ghostly spirit king rolled his eyes and said coldly. As one of the 4 heavenly kings of the Southern Sea, no one had ever dared to ask him to get lost. This human woman had set a precedent. Then die. Yi Qianqian's eyes were calm, without the slightest hesitation. Ha! You are the first who dares to speak like this in front of me. The ghostly spirit king was so angry that he laughed. In an instant, his body flew out and rushed in front of Yi Qianqian. Just as his hands were about to grab Yi Qianqian, suddenly, the long sword in Yi Qianqian's hand instantly pierced through the sky and accurately stabbed the ghostly spirit king's throat. With an unimaginable speed, the sword actually stabbed the ghostly spirit king's throat first. Ghostly spirit king suddenly turned pale with fright. He hurriedly stomped his feet, and his figure directly flew backward. Only then did he manage to avoid the sword. However, there was an additional frozen sword mark on his throat. It showed how urgent the situation was just now. If he had reacted a little bit slower, that sword would have killed him completely. He turned pale with fright. Who was this woman? She could actually threaten him. This was unprecedented. Even an expert at the third heaven of the Transcendence realm could not pose any threat to him. Could it be that the threat he felt earlier was actually this woman? No. He immediately came to a realization. This woman was obviously guarding this inn. What was in this inn that could actually be guarded by this woman? This woman's strength was shocking, and she could definitely be ranked among the peerless geniuses. She was even more terrifying than him and could stand shoulder to shoulder with Zheng Bai and the others. However, she was willing to hide in the crowd and protect this inn. It could be seen that there was definitely an extremely important person or item in this inn. What could be inside? His mind immediately became active. What if it was some kind of treasure? At the thought of this, greed took over his mind. You're very strong. I didn't expect that there would be an expert like you in the human race. Why didn't you attack? He asked, but his eyes were fixed on the inn. I'm only guarding him. The others have nothing to do with me. Yi Qianqian said faintly, as if she was really indifferent. It was just like the scene when Yi Shiwen first met Yi Qianqian. If Yi Shiwen didn't reveal his identity as a human and stated that he was here to save her, she might have watched Yi Shiwen throw away his life and didn't care at all. In her heart, some people were important, and some people had nothing to do with her. Could it be that the person inside is your lover? Ghostly Spirit King said with a smile, trying to get some information from Yi Qianqian. If you want to die, I can fulfill your wish. Yi Qianqian's cold words made Ghostly Spirit King suddenly stagnant. In his eyes, an unusually cold, murderous intention was released. Yi Qianqian's expression did not change. She didn't have any intention to attack. It seemed that she only wanted to protect Yi Shiwen in the inn. The others were not enough to make her raise her eyebrows. Suddenly, in the inn, a powerful aura gradually spread out. This is someone in closed-door training. Ghostly Spirit King was very experienced. He reacted almost immediately. This was a sign that someone was in closed-door training and was about to have a breakthrough. If it was in normal times, he might not even look at it. However, as this aura continued to rise, the sense of crisis in his heart also continued to rise. The feeling of fatal threat was also constantly increasing. This made him completely sure that the source of the uneasiness in his heart did not originate from others. It was not this woman, but the person in this inn. Thinking of this, he couldn't allow the person in the inn to have a successful breakthrough. Otherwise, he was afraid that it would really pose a threat to him. He was very confident in his intuition. He was calm and seemed to have given up. However, his divine sense swept towards the inn from time to time. However, the inn seemed to be isolated by something. It directly blocked the scanning of his divine sense. Sure enough, someone was having a breakthrough. He absolutely couldn't let him have a successful breakthrough. At this time, there were sounds of fighting all around. Suddenly, accompanied by a loud roar, a corner of the entire city wall collapsed. Countless blood fiends began to madly rush in. Suddenly, countless experts began to clamor. It must be known that they could still find a way to resist the blood fiends if they were blocked outside the city wall. However, now that the blood fiends had rushed in and they had lost the geographical advantage of the city wall, they were afraid that they would be in an even more miserable state. Sure enough, screams rang out one after another. Many experts inside the city wall were not prepared for the sudden collapse of the city wall. Hundreds of people were thrown to the ground and bitten to death by the surging blood fiends. In an instant, everyone was shocked, and they began to shout, wanting to block the blood fiends. If they didn't block the blood fiends and fill up the gap, then the army of blood fiends would continue to pour in, and they would truly be finished. These blood fiends and blood demons were controlled, so they didn't care about sacrificing themselves. They didn't know what fear was either. Their only thought was to tear apart the humans in front of them. However, these human martialists couldn't act like them. After all, they were living humans. Many people were terrified. However, they also knew that if they were to collapse, then they wouldn't stand a chance anymore. Why? Aren't you going to help? The ghostly spirit king seemed to be interested in watching the humans being slaughtered. He looked at Yi Qianqian with interest, as if he was trying to provoke her to help. Now that the entire blood fiend army was pouring in, the defensive line of the warrior organizations in the city was also torn open, and it was getting bigger and bigger. However, if an expert at the peak of the Transcendence Realm Third Sky could help, it would still be effective immediately. It was even possible to drive these blood fiends and blood fiends out. Yi Qianqian was unmoved. She had no intention of going out to help at all. It was as if the whole world was not as important as Yi Shiwen in her eyes. But at this time, Yi Qianqian didn't move. Jian Wushuang and the others immediately jumped down the city wall and rushed to the broken city wall. They began to besiege the blood fiends and blood demons that rushed in. With Jian Wushuang and Bai Hanmo as the arrowhead, they directly rushed into these blood fiends. With Yi Qianqian guarding there, everyone was relieved. Yi Shiwen would be fine for the time being. In the sky, the battle between Zheng Bai and Qin Chushan had become more and more intense. Qin Chushan had countless large and small wounds on his body. There was a huge hole in his waist, constantly dripping blood. His scaly face was full of ferocious expression. He looked at Zheng Bai fiercely, wishing to devour him alive. On the other hand, Zheng Bai wasn't any better. There was a huge wound on his chest, and he was almost cleaved into two halves. Ha ha, the outcome is set. The outcome is set. Zheng Bai, you are dead. Dead. The city wall is broken. You can't even hold on until the space opens. Ha ha ha. Originally, I just wanted to keep 1,000,000 humans alive to refine the Blood Yuan elixir. But now it seems that I can keep 1,000,000 people alive. Ha ha. Qin Chushan laughed, affecting the wounds on his body. The severe pain made his expression more ferocious, but he laughed even more happily. Beep! He put his finger in his mouth and blew a very loud whistle that resounded throughout the battlefield. In an instant, more than 20 tyrannical figures appeared from the void. They directly rushed into the collapsed city wall. Wherever these figures passed, the human clan's line of defense collapsed in an instant. These were actually more than 20 experts at the third sky of Law Manifestation Realm. They had been lurking just now, and now all of them emerged. All of them were experts of the Blood Union, just for this moment. With the addition of this new force, the entire defense line of the human clan was in danger. The human clan's third sky of Transcendence Realm experts were all entangled. Although they had joined forces to suppress Prince Amano, from another point of view, they were also being held back by Prince Amano. There was no way for them to escape and help the human clan. As a result, the human clan actually couldn't find anyone who could compete with them. This was absolutely unexpected. At this moment, in the inn, a grand aura began to boil from inside. Countless blood energies began to form a spiral and were sucked into it. "Damn it, I don't care who you are. Go to hell," the ghostly spirit king bellowed. A pair of ghostly claws grabbed at the inn in the air. It was fast and urgent, almost as if it was a sudden clap of thunder. His speed was fast, and it was a surprise attack. Even Yi Qianqian couldn't save him in time. Just as the claws were about to reach the tavern, a cyan figure leapt out from the tavern and met the pair of ghostly claws head-on. Chapter 1131. Just as the claws were about to reach the inn, a cyan figure leaped out from it and attacked the pair of ghostly claws. Boom! There was an extremely terrifying collision, and a crisp sound of bones breaking came from the ghostly claws. The pair of ghostly claws had actually been smashed until the bones were broken. It could even be seen that there was some golden liquid left on the ghostly claws, which was constantly suppressing the qi in his body. It was very terrifying. Ah! The ghostly spirit king let out a blood-curdling scream. He had suffered a great loss in front of this cyan figure. He was too careless, too careless. He quickly withdrew his hands and tried to remove the golden divinity on his body. Then he began to recover. It had to be said that the recovery ability of a top master at the peak of the third sky of the law phase realm was very strong. Although he had been seriously injured because of a moment of carelessness, he had almost recovered in a very short time. "Who are you?" The ghostly king looked at the cyan figure in front of him and said, "Yi Shiwen." Yi Shiwen said faintly, not avoiding his name. Then he turned his head and smiled at Yi Qianqian. Yi Shiwen had seen how she had protected him just now. "Go to the city wall and help. Leave this guy to me," he said. "Okay." Yi Qianqian saw that Yi Shiwen had already come out, so she did not insist. She immediately turned into a streamer and flew toward the city wall. Clang! A shocking white sword light instantly fell from the sky and directly fell into the group of blood fiends and blood demons that had rushed in. The terrifying sword light directly killed hundreds of blood fiends and blood demons. Even more blood fiends and blood demons were immediately frozen. Then a beautiful figure floated over. It was Yi Qianqian. Her first move was a thunderous move. She directly froze the broken part of the city wall, so that the blood fiends behind could not rush in. Good, very powerful. Who is this woman? How can she be so powerful? Yes, we were helpless, but in her hands, it was as if it was nothing at all. She directly killed it. I seem to know this person. She seems to be the person beside Yi Shiwen. It turns out to be the person beside Yi Shiwen. No wonder the experts are surrounded by the experts' friends. Everyone, hurry up and clean up the blood fiends here, then drive them out. At this time, everyone recovered from the shock brought by Yi Qianqian. They also understood that although Yi Qianqian had temporarily sealed the gap, she could not stop the blood fiends and blood demons for long. When they came to their senses, it was only a matter of time before the ice wall broke. Sure enough, terrifying roars came from the other side of the ice wall, as well as the sounds of some beasts attacking the ice wall. Everyone quickly worked together in twos and threes to eliminate the remaining blood fiends and blood demons within the city walls. On the other side, Ghostly Spirit King saw that Yi Qianqian was really going to help, so he wanted to stop her. He couldn't let her go there, otherwise all of their plans would fail and become a joke. He looked up to the sky and let out a long howl. Two ghostly claws appeared in the air. He wanted to claw Yi Qianqian to death and leave her no way out. And at this time, Yi Shiwen moved, a fist light blasted out. Bang! With a loud explosion, the pair of ghostly claws in the air exploded. "Now, your opponent is me," Yi Shiwen said coldly. He looked at Ghostly Spirit King in front of him and clenched his fists. "Although I'm still a little short of breaking into the half-step law manifestation realm, it's more than enough to deal with you." That's right. At that critical moment, Yi Shiwen had already entered the half-step law manifestation realm, which was not too difficult for him. In fact, he could have entered the late-stage half-step transcendence realm a long time ago, but he had been delaying entering the late-stage half-step transcendence realm because he was very ambitious and wanted to break through to the Transcendence realm in one go. He didn't want to be a mediocre expert in the Transcendence realm after entering the Law Phase realm. Hence, he had to build his foundation, and the half-step late-stage Law Phase realm was his last chance to do so. Therefore, he had been delaying it and did not directly enter the half-step Law Manifestation realm until the most critical moment just now. He had cultivated the half-step Law Manifestation realm middle stage foundation to the most perfect state and broke through. However, he did not have the time to consolidate this realm, nor did he have the time to push his cultivation to the peak of half-step Law Manifestation realm middle stage. Originally, this could be done in one go because he did not lack accumulation now. With the medicinal power of the 9 Orifices Divine Elixir, he could quickly enter the half-step Law Manifestation realm. Now, he could only do it in a battle. He had to digest the medicinal power of the 9 Orifices Divine Elixir little by little. For the huge medicinal power of the entire 9 Orifices Divine Elixir, he had only absorbed less than 1/3 of it. Everything was just the beginning. Ghostly Spirit King finally began to take Yi Shiwen seriously as an opponent. He was finally sure that the uneasy feeling in his heart really came from this guy in front of him. However, before he could think too much, Yi Shiwen, who he thought should be waiting for him to attack, attacked first. The long sword in Yi Shiwen's hand instantly broke through the blood chi and went straight to the front of Ghostly Spirit King. Just a sweep of the long sword had swept out a terrifying aura. Ghostly Spirit King's face changed drastically. This kind of terrifying aura was rare even among the experts at the 3rd level of Law Manifestation realm, and the one in front of him was just a kid at half-step Law Manifestation realm middle stage. If it was in the past, if he did not personally confirm that his sense of insecurity was from this kid in front of him, perhaps he would not care about this guy at all. However, he did not expect this guy to be so terrifying. Nether Ghost Spin. The Ghost Spirit King gave a loud shout. His hands grabbed out countless evil spirits of the netherworld and rushed towards Yi Shiwen. These were the resentful souls that had been defeated by the Ghost Spirit King. He didn't even let these resentful souls go. All of them had been collected into his own claw technique and were accompanying him to resist the enemy. These resentful souls had already lost their minds and only wanted to capture more people to accompany them in suffering. Boom! The most terrifying collision took place. The long sword in Yi Shiwen's hand and the ghost claw had an earth-shattering collision. But unlike a moment ago, Ghost Spirit King was now completely serious. He had already instilled countless Zhen Yuan into his hands. After many years of forging, his hands could even rival an earth-level divine tool. Moreover, as his skill continued to deepen, his hands also became more and more powerful. In the blink of an eye, there was an endless divine radiance that swept in all directions. Countless, terrifying airwaves flattened countless buildings in the surroundings. Almost in an instant, a terrifying evil ghost appeared on that pair of ghostly claws. It suddenly appeared like a small mountain and slammed down towards Yi Shiwen. Boom! Yi Shiwen was caught off guard and was sent flying. He was just like a bulldozer, directly smashing through 5 or 6 houses, and finally came to a stop. Yi Shiwen didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed. He could feel that this claw attack had actually made the medicinal efficacies in his body open up a little bit. In other words, he had become stronger. How overbearing was his tyrant body? The injury just now was not serious at all. Moreover, he had the Phoenix regeneration technique to protect his body. Almost in a moment, his injury had recovered. And almost at the same time, Ghostly Spirit King had already caught up and appeared in front of him in a flash. That pair of old, ghostly eyes were full of killing intent. He believed in his intuition. Since intuition told him that the guy in front of him was very dangerous, then the guy in front of him must be very dangerous. Although he could not see what was fatal at the moment, his killing intent was not reduced. He was able to survive until now not because he challenged many powerhouses, but because he killed all dangers in the cradle. Just when he was about to grab Yi Shiwen's head with his claw, he saw Yi Shiwen's sword chopping out a white sword chi, like a waterfall, chopping towards the Ghostly Spirit King. The Ghostly Spirit King was caught off guard and was hit by the white sword chi. His body was directly blown away. His body was almost chopped into two halves. If he hadn't dodged urgently, perhaps he would have been chopped into two halves by Yi Shiwen. But even so, his entire arm was split in half by Yi Shiwen's sword aura. How is it possible? Ghostly Spirit King vomited blood while looking at Yi Shiwen in disbelief. He could not believe that Yi Shiwen was actually so terrifying. Didn't you just get hit by my claw? Even if a master at the third level of Law Manifestation Realm was hit by me, he would be seriously injured even if he did not die. How can you be fine? This is impossible. And what made Ghost Spirit King even more surprised was that Yi Shiwen had actually become even stronger than before. Although others might not be able to feel it, but Ghost Spirit King had just fought with Yi Shiwen. How could he not feel it? How is this possible? Generally, people who had just broken through, if they did not consolidate their realm and rushed into the battle, not to mention becoming stronger, they might not even be able to maintain the results of their breakthrough and directly fall back to the previous realm. How could he become stronger? But at this time, he had no time to think too much. He quickly used his martial art to stop the blood from gushing out from the wound on his body. Being distracted in the battle was simply courting death. At this time, Yi Shiwen did not seem to have the intention to take advantage of the chaos to attack. He just held his long blade upside down and approached step by step. Chapter 1132. He was like an Azura in the flames of war, an ancient overlord. As soon as he made his move, he completely suppressed the Ghostly Spirit King. He severely injured the Ghostly Spirit King with one sword strike. This made many people who were paying attention to this side extremely surprised, and they began to discuss, is this person Yi Shiwen? Oh my god, he is too strong. Previously, he could use that saber to kill a master at the third level of the Law Manifestation Realm. It is already scary enough, let alone now. He can actually seriously injure the Ghostly Spirit King. Oh my god! Many people present were very clear about what kind of mission the Ghostly Spirit King was. As the level got higher and higher, there might be only a few people in the entire circle. Everyone knew each other's details. Although they were not at the level of the Ghostly Spirit King, Zheng Bai, and the others, they were not far away. For the top masters in their circle, they still knew that the Ghostly Spirit King was an unreachable character for them. Previously, he seriously injured a master at the third level of the Law Manifestation Realm with just one move. It could be imagined how strong he was. Now that he was defeated by Yi Shiwen, it was not that he was not strong enough. It could only be said that Yi Shiwen was too strong. Damn it! The Ghostly Spirit King's expression began to waver. Suddenly, he roared and pounced toward Yi Shiwen. Go to hell! His remaining arm was burning with countless ghostly flames. It was exceptionally dark and terrifying. Then he grabbed Yi Shiwen from the sky. Good timing. Yi Shiwen laughed loudly. There was a bit of fighting intent in his eyes. He rushed toward the countless ghost fires. Boom! 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 The shattered star fist that Yi Shiwen casually blasted out also had endless power. It could actually extinguish the ghost fire that the silent Ghost Spirit King had spent many years to refine. The strength of both sides seemed to be clear at a glance, but Yi Shiwen didn't seem to have the intention to kill him in one breath. The battle between both sides rushed all the way to the sky. In this city, they could not fight freely at all. The Ghostly Spirit King did not like this kind of environment where he was surrounded by enemies everywhere, especially when facing a terrifying opponent like Yi Shiwen. However, Yi Shiwen didn't want to destroy the entire city. Therefore, both sides had a tacit understanding and flew into the sky. The Ghost Spirit King was startled and frightened. He discovered that Yi Shiwen's strength was constantly getting stronger, and he could feel it every time they exchanged blows. His heart was filled with fear. What kind of monster was this? It wasn't unheard of for someone to break through in the middle of a battle. In fact, as a Heaven's Pride expert, he had done this many times before. But generally speaking, that was when one had already accumulated to the peak. Only in the middle of a battle would one's strength increase due to a coincidence. But who has ever heard of continuous improvement? Almost every time they fought, he would be horrified to find that Yi Shiwen's strength was constantly improving. Yi Shiwen, who had just broken through, seemed to be weaker than him. Yi Shiwen was just relying on his tyrannical physique to fight with him. But now, Yi Shiwen's strength had surpassed him. What made him even angrier was that the person in front of him had no intention of ending this battle. Yi Shiwen actually used him as a stepping stone and a whetstone. Yi Shiwen wanted to take advantage of the battle to improve his strength to the peak. This made him feel ashamed and angry at the same time. Even Zheng Bai wouldn't dare to be so arrogant and use him as a whetstone and a stepping stone. Arrogant, really arrogant. However, he didn't know that the medicinal power of the 9 orifices divine elixir in Yi Shiwen's body was melting little by little and integrating into Yi Shiwen's body as he continued to fight. These medicinal powers had long existed, but Yi Shiwen had no way to absorb them at all. His body was like a bucket. He was only a half-step law manifestation realm middle stage previously. The capacity of his body was limited. After reaching the peak, there was no way to continue to absorb more energy. Now that he had already entered the half-step law manifestation realm late stage, the capacity of his body was more than doubled or tripled. With such a huge gap, it would take a lot of time to refine the medicinal power according to the normal procedure. However, with the help of this fierce battle, the medicinal power was shaken off and integrated into his body. This could speed up the process. He was right. He had indeed become a whetstone for Yi Shiwen to improve his strength. However, although he knew that Yi Shiwen didn't use his full strength and didn't intend to kill him, he didn't dare to not use his full strength. This was because he realized that Yi Shiwen's control of his strength was simply wonderful. It was to the extent that he had to go all out. If he used less strength, he might be killed on the spot by Yi Shiwen. He was forced to use his full strength because he really couldn't figure out Yi Shiwen's thoughts. He didn't know when Yi Shiwen would suddenly make a heavy move and kill him. Therefore, he could only watch as Yi Shiwen became stronger. Ha ha. Chen Chushan, all of your plans have failed. Ha ha. Zheng Bai laughed. He also noticed that Yi Shiwen and Yi Qianqian had completely erupted. It could be said that the blood union originally had the upper hand. With the addition of Yi Shiwen and Yi Qianqian, the situation suddenly began to lean towards the side of the human clan. Yi Qianqian had blocked the gap with her sword, giving the experts of the human race time to clean up the blood fiends and blood demons inside the city wall. Yi Shiwen had completely suppressed the Ghost Spirit King by himself. His strength was so strong that even the Ghost Spirit King couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. When did such a tyrannical pair of experts appear among the young generation of experts in the Endless Sea region? However, although he wasn't sure, it didn't hinder his current carefree mood. There were too many crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the world. Even in the Eastern Sea region, there were many geniuses that had yet to be discovered, let alone experts from other sea regions. Compared to Zheng Bai's mood, Chen Chushan's face was livid. He was about to explode. He had painstakingly arranged and unified the experts of the Sea Clan, but the result was like this. Don't be happy too early. It's not the end yet. It's still unknown who will emerge as the winner. Chen Chushan sneered. It's still unknown who will emerge as the winner. However, you will definitely die in my hands. I won't let you escape. Otherwise, you will become a scourge for my clan. Zheng Bai's eyes became even more resolute. Originally, he was worried that if he were to fall, it would lead to the collapse of the entire defensive line. However, now that he saw the strong rise of Yi Shiwen and Yi Qianqian, although he didn't know who they were still experts of the human clan, weren't they? This completely resolved his worries and made him feel completely at ease. He was ready to die. He held the long sword in his hand tightly. If someone must be sacrificed, then let me do it. On the other side, Changzi's attacks became more and more urgent. She brandished the Dragon Striker whip, and it was so dense that even the wind couldn't get through it. She had completely suppressed Fei Baifeng. She was even more anxious in her heart. She understood Zheng Bai's style too well. She understood that he was ready to die. Even if he were to die, he must stay. It was ridiculous. Those people in the future had nothing to do with her. What about the imbalance of strength between the human clan and the sea clan in the future? What did it have to do with her? It was too far away. She couldn't think that far. The only thing she could think of was that he must not die. You must not die. Do you hear me? Before I allow you to. However, Fei Baifeng was the biggest obstacle if she wanted to go and support Zheng Bai. Although Fei Baifeng had fallen into a disadvantageous position, it wouldn't be easy to defeat or even kill him. Damn it, are you looking down on me? Countless feathers condensed around Fei Baifeng's body. He looked gorgeous and elegant like an angel. However, he was a fallen angel. His feathers had been scattered by the Dragon Striker whip, and he looked a little embarrassed. However, he was thoroughly enraged when he saw that Changzi was still distracted by Zheng Bai's battle situation. Isn't he looking down on me? He immediately became furious. He frantically counterattacked with the countless feathers in his hand. Changzi wanted to go and support Zheng Bai. So, the only thing he could do was to prevent her from going and supporting Zheng Bai. It was very simple. It was that simple. On the other side, Yi Shiwen's imposing aura began to increase little by little. It seemed as if it would never end. This had already made the Ghost Spirit King feel despair. Despair didn't erase all of one's hopes all at once. Instead, it made one watch helplessly as all of one's hopes were erased. This was much more torturous than erasing all of one's hopes at once. The guy in front of him was actually getting stronger little by little. Moreover, he wasn't just getting stronger by a little. It seemed as if he was getting stronger without any limit. However, the Ghost Spirit King was very clear about one thing. It was that the guy in front of him wouldn't get stronger without any limit. In other words, the guy's strength would eventually stop. And the Ghost Spirit King was afraid that he wouldn't be able to escape when the guy's strength stopped. The Ghost Spirit King must take the initiative to escape before the guy becomes so tyrannical. He didn't hesitate as he thought of this. He slashed his claw towards Yi Shiwen. Countless ghost shadows whizzed up. These were the resentful souls that he had accumulated over the years. However, he couldn't care so much at this time. After all, his own life was more important than anything else. Yi Shiwen's hands glowed with countless golden lights, and directly tore these ghost shadows apart and suppressed them. These ghost shadows were the natural nemesis of the supreme divinity. He didn't need to move much in order to completely suppress and kill these ghost shadows. Then, he discovered that the Ghost Spirit King had turned around and left while attacking him. You want to leave? A cold look flashed in Yi Shiwen's eyes. He took a step forward and chased after the Ghost Spirit King. Chapter 1133. The Ghostly Spirit King directly turned into a cluster of ghost fire and disappeared into the sky. His speed was extremely fast. This was his proudest character, 9 ghosts air traversing steps. His figure directly turned into 9 figures in an instant, constantly appearing in front of him layer by layer. Not only was the speed extremely fast, but it could also easily confuse everyone, making them unable to distinguish which one was the real one. Yi Shiwen's figure almost instantly crossed the time and space, and instantly appeared in front of the Ghostly Spirit King. Compared to the Ghostly Spirit King's erratic and strange speed, Yi Shiwen's speed was faster, and there was no erratic kind. Almost in an instant, Yi Shiwen caught up with him. He was not confused by the ghost shadows that he split out at all. That pair of eyes as deep as the stars seemed to be able to see through some of the falsehoods. How can it be so fast? The Ghostly Spirit King was almost scared to death. Impossible. How can your speed be faster than me? Although Yi Shiwen showed tyrannical strength just now, it was the first time such a terrifying speed was shown, so he was also scared. He was very confident in his 9 ghosts air traversing steps. In the same rank, it could be regarded as one of the best. Although the speed might not be the fastest, in terms of the strangeness, no one could match it. But he was still caught up by Yi Shiwen, and the ghost shadows that he split out seemed to have no effect at all. Why can't I be faster than you? These are just your imagination. Yi Shiwen sneered, and immediately did not stop. He directly made a move and directly blasted out a shattered star fist. Boom! As if a huge star suddenly hit his body, the ghostly Spirit King's body immediately burst apart. He directly turned into a cluster of blood mist on the spot and was absorbed by Tianyuan mirror. Yi Shiwen stopped and shook his head slightly. It was a pity that an excellent whetstone was now gone, but it didn't matter. Although he had not reached the peak of the half-step law manifestation realm late, he was not far from it. After a period of time, he would reach the peak. At that time, he could summon heaven's retribution at any time. At that time, he could truly step into the law manifestation realm. At that time, his strength was enough to be unrivaled in the law manifestation realm. In the eyes of the people in the underground city, he was simply like a shocking demon god. Even the Ghost Spirit King was not his match. Suddenly, Yi Shiwen felt that the blood energy under his feet was crazily shaking. Then, a huge crack appeared in the sky above the Oriental city. It seemed as if someone had torn it apart in the sky. Seeing this crack, many experts in the city began to cheer. With this crack open, they would be able to leave. Everyone, let's work harder and kill these sons of bitches. Then we can leave this damn place. Kill. Leave no one alive. Because of the opening of this spatial crack, everyone's mood suddenly seemed to have been greatly stimulated, and they frantically fought. Yi Shiwen looked at the crack in front of him. This crack would last for more than a year until it completely closed. Those who couldn't leave before this would be left in the blood world forever. It was equivalent to never being reincarnated. To be trapped in the blood world for eternity, one could only imagine the pain. However, Yi Shiwen merely glanced at them. Immediately after, his figure flickered and appeared among the group of blood beasts and blood demons below. Boom! When Yi Shiwen's figure landed, it was like a falling mountain. The entire ground cracked on the spot, and the shockwave shook a large number of blood beasts and blood demons to death. However, these blood beasts and blood demons were basically crazy. At this time, they didn't care about the crowd that rushed in. Burial sword, Yi Shiwen shouted, and a sword light in his hand slashed out. It split into countless sword lights in the void, and they all slashed down. Poochie, Poochie, Poochie. Yi Shiwen's ears were filled with the sound of the sword light exploding in the flesh. A large area around was cleared in one move. Within a radius of hundreds of meters, there was not a single living blood beast or blood demon. Amazing! At this time, the people on the city wall couldn't help but be secretly surprised when they saw this scene. Because among them, many could only fight one-on-one against those blood beasts and blood demons. If the opponent was a law manifestation realm blood beast or blood demon, it could even become a situation of killing in all directions. However, these incomparably ferocious blood beasts and blood demons were like sheep in front of Yi Shiwen. They were slaughtered cleanly and cleanly. Among them, whether it was Transcendent Realm 9th level, half-step Law Manifestation Realm, or Law Manifestation Realm blood beasts or blood demons, there was no difference in Yi Shiwen's hands. They were all killed in one move. Under the suppression of the Blood Realm's rules, even if these blood beasts grew for thousands of years, they could only grow to the 2nd or 3rd level of Law Manifestation Realm at most. Even some old monsters who lived for a long time rarely appeared. This was already very shocking for them. Yi Shiwen had just launched an attack, and he had already displayed a strength that could completely crush their level. But if he continues to clean up like this, it will be useless no matter how vigorous his chi is. At this time, someone came out to disagree. However, it was not that they denied Yi Shiwen's combat power, but they were just worried. At this time, everyone came to a realization. Indeed, although Yi Shiwen's strength was very strong, his sword moves were powerful, but the consumption was great. If this continued, it would not take long for his chi to be exhausted. At that time, no matter how strong he would be worn down by the blood beasts and blood demons. Yi Shiwen didn't know what everyone was thinking at this time. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care at all. After integrating the Star Beast bloodline, the chi in his body was 10 times or even dozens of times that of ordinary people. It was not easy to exhaust him to death. Moreover, his tyrant body's recovery speed was extremely fast. It wouldn't take long at all. This consumption was nothing to him. Burial sword, burial sword, burial sword. The entire battlefield was filled with Yi Shiwen's constant roar. His sword aura was boiling in the entire sky, and it was endless. Every time his burial sword technique spread out, a large number of blood beasts would be killed. He was like a human-shaped tank. Wherever he went, the blood fiends and blood demons would completely collapse. This was especially true for the blood fiends and blood demons at the wounds. Initially, they were extremely ferocious and arrogant. However, under the joint efforts of Yi Shiwen and Yi Qianqian, they were retreating. The strong performance of the two immediately boosted everyone's morale. At this time, everyone had a real understanding of the role of a top expert. A top expert could almost reverse the battle situation at the most critical moment. Yi Shiwen was more like a humanoid monster. The qi in his body was still abnormally vigorous, and there was no sign of it being cut off at all. Under the leadership of Yi Shiwen and Yi Qianqian, these blood beasts and blood demons were still frenzied, but they were still retreating. There was no way to resist at all. Many experts also joined the slaughter, especially those law manifestation experts who joined the battle. For them, this was simply a feast. They constantly slaughtered these blood beasts and seized the blood nuclei in their bodies. With Yi Shiwen and Yi Qianqian in charge, those powerful blood beasts and blood demons were often dealt with by Yi Shiwen and Yi Qianqian on the spot as soon as they emerged. The combat prowess of Law Manifestation 3rd level peak was unimaginable. In addition to these experts, those Transcendent Realm 9th level warriors and lower warriors also began to withdraw their formation and left through the crack. At this time, even if many people were unwilling to accept it, they had no other choice. Because they could see that unless the Blood Alliance was completely destroyed, as long as they were still here, they would be targeted. Those experts might still have the power to protect themselves, but if it was them, only death awaited them. Most importantly, not only the Blood Alliance, but even the Sea Clan had joined forces with the Blood Alliance. The situation had become worse. They had no choice but to stay. Due to Yi Shiwen and the others constantly clearing the blood beasts and blood demons in batches, everyone retreated in an orderly manner. There was no need to fight. As long as Yi Shiwen and the others were still here, they could retreat calmly. Among the tens of millions of people, at least 60 to 70% were Transcendent Realm 9th level warriors. However, everyone moved quickly. In just a moment, most of them had left. The originally crowded city suddenly became much emptier at this time. After the Transcendent Realm warriors left one after another, the half-step law manifestation experts who were still fighting also began to retreat according to their strength. The blood beasts and blood demons were almost wiped out, especially Yi Shiwen, who was a humanoid tank. With a slash of his sword, hundreds of blood beasts would fall under his sword. For him, burial sword that slashed hundreds of times consecutively was not a problem at all. Under his leadership, these blood beasts were quickly wiped out. Hence, these half-step law manifestation experts could retreat. It didn't take long for these half-step law manifestation experts to retreat. Only thousands of law manifestation experts were left. It seemed like a large number, but compared to the tens of millions of people, it was just a small handful. Moreover, these thousands of people were already the top geniuses in the Endless Sea region. These thousands of people could stand out from the tens of millions of people. They were the geniuses among the geniuses. Ha ha ha. Chen Chushan, your plan is completely useless. It's your turn next. Chapter 1134. Ha ha ha. Chen Chushan, your plan is completely useless. It's your turn now. Zheng Bai's figure in the sky was like a white sword god. The long sword in his hand suddenly emitted a terrifying sword light. Countless sword lights gathered together and formed an extremely terrifying lightsaber. Boom! The lightsaber fiercely slashed Chen Chushan's body. Chen Chushan groaned, and his body was sent flying. However, his blade light also ruthlessly slashed Zheng Bai's body at the same time. Both sides suffered injuries and fell from the sky one after another. Zheng Bai actually wanted to fight to the death with Qin Shushan. He wanted to perish together with him. No one had expected this. Perhaps even Qin Shushan hadn't expected that Zheng Bai would have such a resolution in the end. He wanted to keep Qin Shushan here, even if both sides suffered injuries and died together. Kill him. Zheng Bai barely managed to shout these words. His body could no longer maintain its balance and directly fell down. Bai! Changzi screamed and instantly lashed out with the Dragon Striker whip, binding Zheng Bai. And at this time, Fei Baifeng finally broke free from Changzi's oppression. She immediately fled without caring about anything else. Although she had been suppressed by Changzi, she could see the entire situation very clearly. She understood very clearly that the Blood Alliance and the Oceanic Races Alliance had collapsed. If she didn't leave now, it would be too late. Yi Xuan saw it clearly. He took a step forward and was about to chase after Qin Shushan. He wanted to kill Qin Shushan, who was already gasping for breath. Yi Xuan also had the same thought as Zheng Bai. If Qin Shushan couldn't be eliminated, he would definitely become a big trouble. However, he saw a big hand coming from the horizon before he could kill Qin Shushan. It directly grabbed Qin Shushan and Fei Baifeng and instantly took them away. After that, it instantly disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. Damn it, they actually escaped. Yi Xuan looked at the big hand that had already disappeared in the horizon and suddenly felt somewhat depressed. He hadn't expected that there would be such an unforeseen event at the most critical moment. There was actually an expert hiding and hadn't participated in the battle and was eyeing them covetously from the sidelines. Yi Xuan wouldn't have missed it if he had participated in the battle earlier. Yi Xuan had the same idea as Zheng Bai. He also felt that Qin Shushan was a bigger threat than those sea race experts. He was an expert from the blood world who was hostile to the human race. So, he would pose a huge threat to the human race experts who would participate in the Scarlet and Fire trial in the future. On the other hand, the experts of the Oceanic race were fine. They couldn't stay behind anyway. After Qin Shushan and Fei Baifeng left the battlefield, young Master Amano was the only one left. He couldn't escape from everyone's encirclement, especially when he saw Zheng Bai and Changzi, who was on the verge of death. He went berserk and attacked young Master Amano frantically. He even personally injured young Master Amano before killing him. Amano was probably the most depressed one among them. He had only been showing off for a short while before he was surrounded by the crowd and finally died in the hands of Changzi. The blood world was as lively as ever. Although there were fewer human race experts, the number of sea race experts was several times that of human race experts. Although there were fewer human race experts, the entire blood world was bustling with activity. Especially after the human race had left, the experts of the three great sea races had gathered in the deepest part of the blood world, the Blood Sea. In the past, even the experts of the human race and the oceanic race who had come to the blood world for the trial would rarely come to this place. That was because it was said that an extremely terrifying old monster was sleeping in the Blood Sea. However, this was only a legend. Many people had never seen it. However, many people also swore that an unknown monster was sleeping in the Blood Sea. It was also recorded in the records of many sects and powers. Therefore, even the Eastern City, which was established by a colossus like the Eastern Sea region, was actually quite a distance away from the Blood Sea. It was to avoid the legendary monster within the Blood Sea. Although many years had passed, it was still recorded in the records of many forces that the monster had once annihilated the young experts of an entire world. Since then, the Blood Sea had become a place that countless forces had warned against stepping foot into. It wasn't only the forces of the human race. It was also the same for the oceanic race. But now, the oceanic race, led by the three great sea races, as well as a large number of experts from the large sea races, had all gathered in the Blood Sea. Soon, a piece of news spread among the experts of the oceanic race. It was said that the extremely terrifying monster had reached the end of its lifespan and was about to die of old age. This immediately attracted the greed of countless experts. However, this news had always been sealed among the oceanic race. Unexpectedly, the human race had not received any news about it. And this news was said to have come from an extremely daring expert of the oceanic race who had entered the Blood Sea and unexpectedly found the legendary monster. It was already very old and was about to die of old age. As this news spread, more and more information slowly leaked out. The legendary monster was actually a blood demon. Moreover, it was a blood demon ancestor. As for the Blood Alliance, the blood demons of unknown origins were raised in the Sea of Blood. Countless blood demons lived in the Sea of Blood, and according to the legends, the monster which had once exterminated the experts of the younger generation in an entire world was none other than Patriarch Blood Demon. It was unknown how long Patriarch Blood Demon had existed in the Blood Sea. It had always been hibernating in the Blood Sea and rarely came out. Therefore, many people had never heard of it. Only the Blood Alliance knew a bit more about it. Although the legacy of the Blood Alliance had been severed for many years, it had once been an existence that had nearly conquered the entire Blood world. Later, more information came to light. The reason why the Blood Alliance had been completely annihilated was because they had recklessly captured more and more blood demons from the Blood Sea. The more they captured, the more blood demons they captured. In the end, the blood demon ancestor in the depths of the Blood Sea was alarmed. In the end, the blood demon ancestor attacked and completely destroyed the Blood Alliance. Is this the reason why the Blood Alliance was destroyed? At the edge of the Blood Sea, a cyan figure stood high in the sky, looking at the surging Blood Sea in front of him. Waves of fishy wind blew in his face. According to the legends, the Blood Sea was the core of the entire Blood world. The blood chi that filled the entire Blood world also came from the Blood Sea. However, no one could truly explain it clearly. The entire Blood world had been formed far too early. In fact, it had been formed much earlier than many of the forces in the Endless Sea region. The Blood Sea had already existed when the Blood world had appeared. As for what secrets it was hiding, no one knew. Yi Shiwen sighed. It had already been a month. It had been a month since the human race had completely withdrawn from the Blood world. He had also been searching for the whereabouts of Chen Chushan for a whole month. In the end of that battle, even Zheng Bai was severely injured. In addition, his original injuries might not have healed completely. As a result, he was directly injured and almost died. The reality did not allow him to continue to stay. He was directly taken away by Chang Zi and returned to the Eastern Sea region. On the other side, Jian Wushuang, Yi Qianqian, Yao Qian, and the others originally wanted to stay. However, they were persuaded by Yi Shiwen to return. Hence, in the end, only he remained in the Blood world. It could not be ruled out that there were other human race experts lurking in the Blood world. However, they could only be sporadic individuals. Basically, they could not pose too much of a threat. The Blood world had completely become the world of the Sea Clan. Yi Shiwen disguised himself as an expert of the Sea Clan. He lurked among the Sea Clan and searched for traces of Chen Chushan. Unfortunately, even though the Sea Clan and the Blood Alliance had once joined forces, the reputation of the Blood Alliance was still not very good among the Sea Clan. Recently, there had even been a few conflicts. The facts proved that an alliance formed by benefits was the most fragile and unreliable. Originally, the people of the Blood Alliance planned to hunt down a large number of human race experts and refine them into blood yuan pills. After that, they could save a lot of effort. However, as the plan failed and a large number of experts were defeated, the Blood Alliance was far from having enough blood yuan pills to last until the next opening of the Blood world. Hence, the Blood Alliance targeted the Sea Clan. After watching from the sidelines for so long, the Sea Clan finally felt the helplessness of the human race experts when they were targeted by the Blood Alliance. Although the Sea Clan had more experts than the human race, they were the same as the human race. They were also divided into different clans, different sects, and forces. They could not unite together at all. When facing the elusive Blood Alliance, there was nothing they could do. Because of this, they suffered a lot of losses. However, even if they reported it, many of the high-level experts of the Sea Clan were gathered in the Blood Sea. They could not spare any energy to deal with these things. This caused the relationship between the Sea Clan and the Blood Alliance to worsen. Yi Shiwen hid among the Sea Clan. It was extremely difficult for him to find any information about Qin Shushan. Regarding this, Yi Shiwen just sneered and said that it was just a dog-eat-dog situation. If the Blood Alliance wanted to survive, they would need a large number of blood yuan pills. In the situation where the human race had withdrawn from the blood world, the Sea Clan had become the inevitable target. It was like some hibernating animals that needed to store enough food before they passed the winter. In the eyes of the Blood Alliance, whether it was the human race or the Sea Clan, they were all targets to be hunted. They were nothing more than food. There was no difference at all. Because of the bad relationship between the two sides, even Yi Shiwen could only find out that Qin Shushan had recently appeared in the Blood Sea. It seemed that he had come for the completely aged blood demon ancestor. Yi Shiwen could already feel that there was a storm in the blood world. All the experts of the Sea Clan seemed to have their eyes on the blood demon ancestor. They wanted to obtain something from him. Yi Shiwen thought. He took a step, and his figure directly swept into the Blood Sea. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.